Alright, we know how this works, bro. I'm turning off my camera. It's the second game time. Bye, fellas. Alright.
Standing here in the bright sunshine, looking out over the vast ocean. Those days in London seem like a dream. But I do miss my time in England's vast capital. You know, he's flourished into a truly wonderful lawyer. I've no doubt that at this very moment, he's fighting some noble cause
Shucks.
in court.
You gotta look at the game, Soob. Shucks.
Forgive me.
Is that
for
her
taking
dad?
so long to come to visit you.
Is that her dad?
My life has been such a whirlwind since I returned.
Oh, is that Cosma?
And no one could have predicted what has happened. Just 2 months after arriving home.
Find myself faced with another awful crime. Oh, it's that bitch from the first game of this.
So I
In the first
came here
case.
today to ask something of you.
Where's me
Tomorrow,
money?
I shall be
What
standing
money?
in
Where's
court
my money, Coolio?
for the only time in my life. As a lawyer.
Oh,
So please,
never mind.
I ask for your guidance. Kazuma-sama.
I still am not a fan of how they killed Cosmo, bro. The Adventure of the Blossoming Attorney. Oh, yeah, we get to play as her? W. I remember at the end of the game, there was like some government paper that had like all like the main characters' names on it and shit. And the little girl with Herlock, her dad was the person that was killed in the first one, who was Herlock's partner. There you go, Coolio. I think this is when she awakens her persona. Word? 13th of August, 8:26 a.m. Supreme Court of I don't know how to pronounce that, bro. Defendants Antechamber 3. Here I am again after 9 months. The Supreme Court of the of Japan. Ah! Detective Gorilla, you're late. Ah, good, you're here. It doesn't do for a lawyer to be late. Oh yes, good morning, sir. I'm gonna put in my controller. Hold on. Where's Detective Jiro? He's late. You're cutting out of his pay. Sorry, give me 1 second. This ain't Gumshoe. Don't worry, this isn't the Gumshoe of this game. You'll see the. I don't think you'll see the Gumshoe of this game in this case. But I will admit, I fucking love this music, bro. Alright. But you look as white as a sheet. Those wide eyes aren't doing you any favors either. Oh dear. The truth is, I'm so incredibly nervous I feel utterly nauseated. I almost wish that I had never been born. Goodness, not the sort of a thing a father hopes to hear from his daughter, I must say. Yujin Mikotoba, professor of medicine at the Imperial Yume University, a man who earlier in his life traveled to Great Britain to study the latest advances in forensic medical science. And of course, my brilliant father. Excuse me? Would I be correct in thinking that you're to be my lawyer in court today? Oh, yes. Yes, that's right, miss. Well, I want to thank you for agreeing to represent me. I swear my life. I'm out of here. What? Yo, bro, you gotta give Sholmes a chance. And give Shobes a chance, bro. I love Shobes. It's a complete fabrication, the whole thing. Ray Membami, born the same year as I, and my great what? I didn't get the reading in time. My greatest friend. Though unusual for a woman in our time, she works at a university research lab helping my father. He sucks. You suck! And sadly, she's the defendant in today's trial. Accused of committing a truly awful murder. Are you feeling alright? Since we started talking, you seem, well, to have become a little flushed. Oh my, it's just that you look so gallant and dashing. Sorry? And when I fall under your intense gaze, it makes me feel rather bashful. Goodness, I don't think she knows. She hasn't realized who I am. We see my little plan for the trial is going to work. Oh, what? What do you mean, Professor Mikotoba? Numbani? W map. If even your best friend can't see through the disguise, I think we can relax. Disguise? Yes, I've never tried dressing this way before. Of course, so I wasn't sure how convincing it would be. But this does make me feel a little relieved, as you say, Father. Father? Is that you, Susato? I'm so sorry I didn't say something sooner, Ray. It's just that... Oh, what are you doing? What's going on? That varsity uniform, that varsity cap, the varsity cape, that varsity badge. Look at you. You look for all the world just like a student of the Imperial Yume University, a male student. I'm so glad you think so. It means all my preparations have been worthwhile. I woke at 4 this morning to make a start. But I don't understand. Why are you dressed like that? Well, you see, it was the only way. The only way she would be permitted into the Supreme Court to take on your defense in this trial. My defense? Never before in my life have I felt so frustrated at having been born into this body. Courts in Japan are barred to women. We're not even allowed to set foot inside the courtroom, despite the fact that the laws of the land apply to all people, male and female alike. But women are forbidden. Just for today, I'll be leaving my true self at the courtroom door, so that I can act as your lawyer. Oh, Susato, you go to such lengths for me? Of course, you're my greatest friend. I just worry that I shan't be the lawyer you deserve. I have complete faith in you. It's so strange, though. I mean, you're such an accomplished judicial assistant already. And yet, because you're a woman, what a wretched reason. I mean, why shouldn't you be allowed in court? You're so gallant and dashing. Ray? Please don't look at me like that. Those flushed cheeks and doting eyes. Oh, I'm sorry. It's just, you really do look so dashing. Yes, you mentioned that once or twice. You should be pleased. It means you look convincing as a man. I am pleased, I think. It certainly helped to bolster my confidence today. Ray, you're managing to put on a brave face in all this, but I can see through it. I've noticed how your shoulders are slumped, and how you're trembling ever so slightly. Susato, you do believe me, don't you? I didn't do it. I couldn't have. I mean, murder. Of course. You have nothing to worry about. Your conscience is perfectly clean. Isn't that right? Yes. Yes, it is. Perfectly clean. I have absolutely no doubt in my mind about your innocence, which is why I'll stand by you to the bitter end in this trial. Whatever happens, I'll always be on your side, because that's what it means to be a defense lawyer. It means so much to be Susato. Defendant, counsel. Court is about to begin. Proceed to the courtroom at once. Just go in at once, Ray. If you're late, the judge won't hesitate to pronounce you guilty. Oh. Stand aside. I don't think I've ever seen her run so fast. Well, Susato, you've certainly surprised your father. Going to such lengths to be admitted into the courtroom with no prior experience of being a lawyer. There was simply no other way. That's all there is to it. Father, you haven't told her, have you? I mean, I'm right in assuming that Ray doesn't know how it came to this. Yes, quite right. I've kept that information from her. It would only worry her if she found out that no other lawyer would agree. I didn't want to burden her with that. And is it true, the reason why every other lawyers refused to take the case? Is it really because of who the victim was? It was that bitch from the first case. We should be making a move now, too. As you know, law is in my field, but I'll do what I can to support my student. Thank you, Father. Yeah, I've never done voices with people. I feel like it would just get really cringy and kind of a. And plus, I streamed this game for so long. I feel like I would need people who have a lot of time on their hands. Tony said you got him choking on something. I don't know what he meant. Hey, yo! Tony, is there something you want to tell me, bro? What in the fuck? "8 months ago, I accompanied a student of law on a trip to Great Britain. But 2 months ago, due to unforeseen circumstances, I found myself back in Japan. How many times have I wished that he were here, I wonder. Still, I have no choice now but to steel myself for the trial ahead." I ain't saying anything, you lying! Fellas, please, let's not yell at each other. Wish me luck, Naruhodo-san. Fellas. It's okay. I am under the influence. Come on, bro. This court is now in session to hear the trial of Ray Membami. Oh my god, this guy again. The prosecution is fully ready to proceed, Your Excellency. Defense counsel, are you ready? Yes, Your Excellency. We are ready. Ready. Yes, counsel. According to your registration details, your name is, Ryutaru Naruhodo. Ryutaru. Sorry? Oh yes, I had to come up with a suitable male name for you for this little venture. So I'm afraid I simply put down the first name that sprung to mind. Well, counsel? Yes, that's right. That's me. Yes, I am Ryutaro. He who has vowed to uphold the pride of the great Naruhodo pride. It seems Ryutaro may need to consider how better uphold his manly act first and not order it. And those wild, wide eyes aren't doing you any favors either. Just relax and listen. Naruhodo? A fresh face in this courtroom, if I'm not mistaken. But the name Naruhodo, would that perchance be... You may be thinking of Ryunosuke Naruhodo, currently in Britain as part of a student study program. This is, his cousin. That's right, Ryutaro here has been studying in the provinces, but was called to the capital for this trial. I assure you, in matters of law, his knowledge rivals that of any Tokyo's preeminent lawyers. Any of them. What a pitiful situation. Sit. He's a respected and trusty member of the community, and he can do no wrong. Did you just say you fucking hate the guy like 2 days ago? Gorilla. Business sit. Oh my god, I forgot about business sit. Fucking adorable. Having been rejected by every lawyer in the capital, the accused has had to call in a country boy. How dare you! Susato is every bit as gallant and dashy as any of your Tokyo attorneys. I won't have you making fun of her. Her? Oh, her. Please be careful, Ray. What an unrefined tomboy we have here. But I wonder, is your gallant and dashing lawyer up to the challenge of defending you? His wide, skittish eyes. I can't read it so fast. I'm so nervous. Now I'm standing in his shoes. I'm starting to understand what Naruhodo-san goes through. Like it or not, eyes aren't want to flit. That's a thing of the past. What the heck? The case to be heard on this day is a matter of great significance to our national interests. In fact, it would be reasonable to assume that the outcome of this trial may very well affect the very future of our empire. Just like the trial 9 months ago. And yet, for proceedings of such importance, we have this unknown yokel by the dock? Dear me. Perhaps this would be an appropriate moment for me to assess the defense. To determine whether you are sufficiently competent to practice in this courtroom. 9 months ago, when a certain other Naruhodo stood where you're standing now. This same judge tested him as well. Even though he was just a student at the time, not even of law, he passed the test with flying colors. For a trained, experienced judicial assistant like you, this will be easy. So, counsel, do you consent to answering some simple questions? Alright, it's time to prove myself. Yes, Your Excellency. Please do make them simple. Very well. To start with, you will state the name of the victim. Whew! That is simple. I couldn't forget that if I tried. Ah. What's the matter? Now I'm standing in his shoes, I'm starting to understand something else Naruhodo-san goes through. Like it or not, minds are want to blank. It's not surprising, really. It's your first time in this position, and that guise. Even a bright spark like you was bound to flicker and falter a little under the circumstances. Oh dear, this is a dismal failure. Don't fret. You can only use the knowledge you've gained as a judicial assistant to overcome the problem. Of course, the court record. Yes, the answer will be amongst all the key information about the case and the court record. That's right. Got it. Giselle Brett, female, British. 11th of August. She died on my birthday? At around 2 p.m. Cause of death, single stab wound. Single deep stab wound from behind, piercing a lung and resulting in a fatal hemorrhage. Death would have occurred within minutes. Extreme meiosis. Pupil constriction was observed in the victim in both eyes. 9 months ago, she was found guilty of the murder of visiting professor Dr. John Wilson. I'm waiting, counsel. What is the name of the victim in this case?
Yes!
The name of the victim who lost her life in this case is Miss Giselle Brett. Giselle Brett. A name that will never be forgotten in the courtrooms of our country, I'm sure. Correct. And being a member of our empire's judiciary, you will be well aware of the significance of that name. So, let me pose another simple question. As you know, Miss Brett was a visiting student from the Great Empire of Great Britain. Why then is her name indelibly associated with our own empire's judiciary? Obviously, you won't have forgotten the case from 9 months ago, but if it's proving hard to recall the finer points, everything you need is included in the court record. Obviously. I still remember. That was the start of everything. Giselle Brett. Behind the woman's student persona was the face of... Killer.
Yes!
9 months ago, a visiting professor of medicine at the Imperial Yume University was killed. And the culprit was Giselle Brett. Yes, she was a killer. At the time, our country had just signed a new treaty with the Empire of Great Britain. It was in the midst of this delicate diplomatic situation that the incident occurred. An Englishman, Dr. John H. Wilson, was shot and dead. I believe he was an associate of yours, Professor Mikotoba. Yes, I was indebted to the man. He'd been my mentor when I went to London to study forensic medicine. Indeed, it was I who invited him here to Japan as a visiting professor at the university. Naturally, the murder of an Englishman on our soil was the matter of the government wished to resolve rapidly. Indeed it was, which is why a secret trial was conducted here at the Supreme Court. A student of the Imperial Yume University was arrested on suspicion of murder. A second-year English language student by the name of Ryunosuke Naruhodo. With the help of his best friend, a student lawyer, the accused conducted his own defense. It exposed a despicable crime committed by Miss Giselle Brett. Miss Brett eventually admitted to her crime. However, when questioned about the motive that drove her to take Dr. Wilson's life, she gave no satisfactory answer before the trial reached its conclusion. Immediately after the trial, the British government brought its consular jurisdiction into play. We were unable to sentence Miss Brett according to our empire's law. It was decided that she would be removed to Shanghai, China instead. Why Shanghai? There was a British consular court there. Correct. I oversaw the negotiations personally. The date of her transfer to Shanghai was finally settled upon only last week. All that remained of our empire's obligations was to see the woman safely on board a steamship. And yet, the very day before her departure, the Englishwoman was killed. Only the day before. That will do. I'm satisfied that the counsel for the defense is sufficiently capable of representing the defendant. Oh! Thank you, Your Excellency. Over the first hurdle. Now, a summary of the incident, if you please. Prosecutor Auchi? This fucking guy, bro. As is your wish, Your Excellency. The repugnant crime took place on the 11th August. Oops. It's my birthday, bro. On the outskirts of the Imperial capital, under a bright blue sky, at a secluded bathing spot by the sea. The incident occurred inside a small beach hut, erected for bathers to rest or change their clothes. The cause of death was a single stab wound to the posterior abdomen that pierced the victim's lung, an injury which proved fatal. There were two persons alone together in the beach hut at the time of the victim's death. Miss Brett in her bathing attire and the accused, Ray Mimbani. Accordingly, there can be no doubt of the accused's guilt, especially when we consider she had a powerful motive. The police arrived rapidly at the scene and promptly arrested the young lady. Well, that extraordinary description of events leaves me somewhat lost for words, I must say. That's certainly true. Prosecution's summary was full of words that raised an awful lot of questions. As a lawyer, I really ought to pick up the prosecution counsel on what he said about powerful motive. You're clearly exaggerating. Powerful motive is a blatant overstatement. Is the yokel boy using long words he doesn't fully understand? I beg your pardon. No matter. Let's put this to the accused, shall we? Mimbami-san, you are a research assistant at Imperial Yume University, I believe. Yes, I am. I'm working with Professor Mikotoba in his laboratory at the moment. I can confirm that. The defendant is an excellent assistant with a strong sense of responsibility. Fascinating to hear. Now, another question. Prior to your work with Professor Mikotoba, whose research were you assisting then? Oh, well, I was studying under Dr. John H. Wilson. The visiting English professor was murdered by Miss Brett 9 months ago? The accused had a deep-seated respect for her former mentor, Dr. Wilson. Is that not true? Yes, Dr. Wilson was a wonderful man. Interesting. Then tell the court what deep-seated feelings you had towards the Englishwoman who killed him. Well, obviously I was filled with hatred for what she'd done. Powerful hatred. Oh, Ray, be careful what you're saying. The motive was revenge. Plain and simple, Your Excellency. Well, it's clearly a trap all along. How wicked of him to use Ray's undying respect for her former mentor. Must find out more details of something we can use to bolster our defense. Hey, what's up, Moonlit? This is the second game of the Great Ace Attorney. I played the first one like months and months ago. I loved it. I didn't know how much I was gonna like it because I played the trilogy of Ace Attorney last year somewhere around last year, and I love the Ace Attorney series. I didn't know how much I was gonna like this with like the 3D animations and stuff, but I actually liked it a lot. As a lawyer, I really ought to pick up the prosecution counsel on what he said about. If I may, Prosecutor Ouchie? What do you want, you fresh-faced young yokel student? I wonder, could you explain, please? You mentioned a bathing spot. My apologies. Clearly my modernity has confused the poor country bumpkin's simple mind. Bathing spots are the very latest trend in the health practices from the West. We are told that bathing in the water of the ocean is curative, therapeutic, and excellent for the skins. No, that's not what I meant. I was referring to the fact that Miss Brett had, to all intents and purposes, been found guilty of murder. Why would a known criminal have been relaxing by the sea? For old time's sake, I believe. Sorry? Miss Brett was to depart for Shanghai the following day. Her final wish, as it were, was to enjoy a day out at our country's wonderful coast. The British Embassy put extreme pressure on our government to comply. But on what grounds would we agree to such a request? Because, as usual, our government is unable to stand up to foreign powers. In matters of diplomacy, it seems we don't even have the courage to decline the whims of a known criminal. Don't look at me, Professor. It was the government who granted permission, not I. In any case, it was decided that with a dedicated detective on duty, nothing could go wrong. But in fact, a murder took place. I said don't look at me. It was that young student girl who did it, not I. No one has proved that yet. I wouldn't provoke the man if you don't need to. At this stage, I need to gather more information, I think. Alright. But yeah, I love the Ace Attorney series. I'm very excited for the Apollo Justice trilogy that comes out in January. Which is unfortunate because it comes out the same day as Infinite Wealth. Membami-san? Yes, what is your Naruhodo-san. I'm really starting to wish we'd made my, oh shit. Please tell the court why exactly you were present at the bathing spot with the victim in the first place. Why you were alone with her. Oh, well, no, that's not true. It wasn't like that at all. There were other people present. A detective who was guarding Miss Brett, for starters. I was just asked to accompany Miss Brett as a companion, that's all. But let us be clear. At the moment of her death, you were alone together with the victim in the hut. You and no one else. The truth is, there was only one reason why this young woman accompanied Miss Brett on her bathing sojourn. It was his accused's last chance to take the victim's life. No. Because as we know, the following day would see Miss Brett extradited to the British authorities in Shanghai, and the accused would never have had an opportunity to dispatch her again. Toaster, hi, hello. Teabag. Kyler refrained from conjecture, counsel. I believe we all have a clear picture of the incident now. Despite her guilt being determined 9 months ago, Ms. Brett managed to avoid incarceration, instead continuing her research work at the university. Obviously, over that period, she and Ray would have encountered each other on a number of occasions. Seeing the murderer of the mentor for whom she had great respect enjoying such undeserved liberty. Yes, even if it was temporary, until Mrs. Brett's extradition to Shanghai. You can hardly blame Ray for her feelings of anger and resentment. Poor Ray. So, Your Excellency, if you'd be so kind as to pursue this exhibit, a photographic print that shows the scene of the crime immediately following the grim incident. Yes, thank you, Counsel. A tragic image. As you can clearly see, there is nowhere within the hut that anyone else could have hidden. Court will accept this photographic print as evidence. As I understand it then, the victim and the defendant were alone inside the beach hut at the time. I should grip at a pen like that. There's no paper. This is deeply troubling, I must say. The finger of guilt points firmly at the defendant. Well, Your Excellency, naturally the prosecution has much more to its case. We intend to prove that the accused's appalling actions beyond all possible contention. To that end, I can confirm that we have multiple witnesses to the crime and damning evidence. Witnesses? But who? One of whom, I might add, is a highly respected police detective. I love being a snitch. W. That shit shouldn't even be on Twitch. I'll give you 1 second, bro. Boom, boom, boom. Alright. I assure you, the testimony of these witnesses will leave no room for doubt. Evidence in a Japanese court? Preposterous. More like forged evidence, bro. Edgeworth. Very well then, counsel. Bring forth your witnesses. I, Takatsuchi Aochi, have been waiting for this moment. Sorry? Oh yes, I haven't forgotten. That trial 9 months ago, here in this very courthouse. When that irrelevant little student boy utterly humiliated me. Excuse me. Yes? This insult to the Aochi family name will never be forgotten. You become conceited with age, counsel, but the old have to stand aside and make way for the new. It's the way of the world. May you never forget that. Shing. Strike the head of a samurai whose top knot has been cut, and the bell of the cultural enlightenment tolls. Yes, on that fateful day, my former self died. Started your own mini Meiji revolution. Are you modernizing as well, counsel? Silence. Since I swore revenge back then, there has been a minor miracle atop my head. Observe the Aochi growth. You see? You see the seed of hope sprouting forth from the barren expanse of my crown? I think that tiny growth is trying to tell me something. I'm afraid I can't really see. Where's the hope exactly? I said silence. Today, I face another yokel student of the Naruhodo clan. Well, I will vanquish you. My victory will be fertilizer for the seed of hope atop my head. You have been warned. With that, the prosecution calls the witness to the stand. Looks like the stakes are high on both sides in this trial. Prosecution and defense each has much to lose. A haircut is hardly comparable to Rei's life. Oh, Jesus. Oh, hey, it's this guy. I forget his name. I remember this guy from the first game. This guy was kind of weird. Yeah, Hosonaga. Chief Inspector Satoru Hosonaga, Imperial Police Bureau. I'm in disguise, obviously, so I can go undetected. Soseki, that's what it is. I am, well, the next big thing in books. An author renowned throughout the capital, in fact, yes. Soon to be sold out. Oh my god. A sensational success by Soseki Natsume. Oh my goodness! Struggling student from the provinces. Please, you need to be in awe of me. I needed? It's only natural that you feel nervous in my presence. But all of you, please relax. Call me Soseki, even. Yes. What on earth is Soseki-san doing here? Tread carefully, Susato. The author fellow knows you from your time in London, doesn't he? If he exposes you for who you really are, this will be over before it's begun. Yes, of course. I know. I presume Soseki-san won't have forgotten about me. I can certainly never forget him. Although he does seem to have changed somewhat in the 6 months or so that it's been since I last saw him. And as for Inspector Hosonaga, that amazing outfit is hard to believe. Do I have something on my face? Well, your glasses for one. Although they don't seem to be helping you see. Thank goodness he hasn't recognized me either. Ah, I suppose it's this disguise, is it? I thought that appearing here in the clothes I was wearing at the time would make for a more faithful testimony. It is my guiding principle to carry out all testimonies flawlessly. Well, I can appreciate why an Imperial Police Bureau detective might have been present. But what business did a writer such as yourself have been at the scene, Soseki-san? Oh, well, you see, I'd been asked that day to give a lecture. On the morning of the incident, in the Imperial Yume University's Grand Lecture Hall, no less. At Yume University? After the lecture, I had a very pleasant conversation with a researcher from the medical science department. The professor over there, in fact. Professor Mikotoba? Yes, that's right. It was arranged by one of the newspapers. They wanted some story or other about 2 former students who studied in Great Britain. Of course, being a renowned author, the press never leave me alone. Secretly spy snapshots, scribble stories, and scupper my privacy. As you can see, the conversation was written up in this newspaper here. Read it at your leisure, my provincial struggling student friend. I have plenty of copies. Thank you very much. You practically threw that paper at me. Anyway, following my interview with the professor, excuse me, the lady in question appeared and made a very unexpected announcement. I should like to go with everyone to see your country's coast. Those were her words. Why is he doing that, bro? As I explained before, Miss Brett was never taken into custody. She continued to work in my laboratory, under strict surveillance, of course. At which utterance, the university immediately contacted the government to seek guidance. The response was, permit Miss Brett to go as long as the detective accompanies her. That detective I am at liberty to divulge was me, Chief Inspector Satoru Hosonaga. Thereby, the entire party departed cordially for the seaside, it seems. It was extremely challenging to clear all the other members of the public from the vicinity of the beach. This guy's still coughing, but fortunately, I'm at peak physical fitness at the moment, so I was able to carry out my duty flawlessly. Oh my, Inspector, you... Well, you do have something on your face now. Ah, how unsightly. I do apologize. Does that mean that you went to the beach too, Father? No. Fortunately, I had work to finish off. But unfortunately, of course, it meant that, as my assistant, Ray was invited to take my place. Of course, being a renowned author, I didn't like to decline the invitation. Oops. But if I had, I'd never have seen that awful sight. Resentfully racked by remorse and regret. Very well. I must now ask that you present your formal testimony to the court. You will give an account of all that you witnessed on your impromptu excursion to the coast. Why do I feel like it's? I feel like it's the writer behind Soseki. He's got a part in this, bro. That motherfucker behind Soseki. That motherfucker's got a part in this. Relentlessly racked by remorse and regret. I am. Witness testimony. The witness to scene. Boom, 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 boom. I miss this music. On the day of the incident, I was ordered on a special surveillance assignment in this disguise. I just managed to catch that crab when I suddenly heard a caterwaul from behind me. I ran into the beach hut at once, where I found the pair in question. Yes. That young girl was astride the Englishwoman, dagger in hand, as she stabbed wildly. I saw blood on the blade. It proved to me that she did stab the victim multiple times. Well, that's not true. She got stabbed once. Indeed, it does appear from this testimony that both witnesses here present saw it. The very moment of the heinous crime. What? Now, if you will recall, I promised evidence as well. What phrase did I use again? Yes, that was it. Damning evidence. What have you there, counsel? A so-called fountain pen, is it? Correct, Your Excellency. I found out the scene whilst examining the body. It appears that in her dying moments with her final ounce of strength, the victim clutched a piece of evidence that would positively identify her killer. What? Your Excellency, if you would cast your eyes over a photographic print of the crime scene once more. Ah, goodness me. Yes, the victim is clearly grasping something quite deliberately there in her hand. That's right, the fountain pen. And if you would kindly examine the pen, Your Excellency. Ah! The owner's initials have been engraved into the ebonite barrel. R.M. Ray Membami. The initials of the defendant. Ah. This fountain pen will be admitted immediately as critical evidence. So, have I omitted anything? Oh my god, excuse me. Okay, look at the pen, bro. What the heck? Decisive testimony and damning evidence. There's a bright blue sky outside the courthouse today. Perfect weather to ascribe guilt, I feel. I don't understand. Prosecutor Ouchie of 9 months ago had none of this man's poise. Counsel for the defense, you may now begin your cross-examination. Naruhodo-san. Naruhodo. That means... Oh, yes, me. Is there another Naruhodo in my courtroom? Actually, there's even a single Naruhodo in your courtroom. Cousin Ryutaro, pull yourself together, please. Alright, I've seen this countless times as a judicial assistant. Find inconsistencies in the witness's testimony to prove that they're lying somehow. That's all there is to it. That's how a real lawyer would handle a cross-examination, so let's see what I can do. Well, he only got stabbed once. She only got stabbed once. Single deep wound. Doo doo doo. Should probably save. Have I saved yet? I have not. Wow, I finished that game at 3 in the morning. No, it wasn't even at 3 in the morning, bro. It was like at 4 in the morning when I finished that game. Oh, I played that in October. Yeah, it's been like 2 months.
Objection!
That accusatory cry that welled from deep inside me, I think I finally understand. Every time Cosmo-sama and Naruhodo-san have stood here at this bench, the stakes have been very, very high indeed. What's the meaning of that menacing pose, counsel? I'd like the witness to clarify something for me. Who? What? Where? When? How? Look at this guy. He's got ink on his hand, bro. But he's using a pencil. Bro, this guy. Very suspicious. Not you, Sosuke-san. This query is directed at Inspector Hosonaga. At me? In your statement just now, you said that the victim was stabbed multiple times. Yes, that's right. As I said when I entered the hut. The defendant was already standing over the victim, bloody knife in hand like a murderous demon. And yet, that cannot be. What? Get to the point, please, counsel. In the post-mortem report, it clearly states that the victim was stabbed 1 time only. Ah! In other words, Inspector Hosanaga's testimony is clearly flawed. And Sosuke-san, me? You claim to have seen Minbami-san in the throes of stabbing the victim. Yes, I did. Wildly. But both you and the inspector confirmed the same point. That there was already blood on the knife that you saw the defendant holding. Yes. And? It's quite simple. We know the murder weapon was used to stab the victim only once, therefore, there's no way there could have been blood on the knife if that single stabbing hadn't already occurred. True. Then what exactly is your contention, counsel? Are you ever going to tell us? Yes, Your Excellency. There's only one logical conclusion. What Sosuke-san in fact saw was not the moment that the defendant stabbed the victim at all, but the moment that the defendant in fact withdrew the blade from the victim's body. That can't. Excellent work, Susato. You exploded at them with that objection, and then proceeded to pull them apart systematically.
Objection!
Well, this takes me back. Yes, I seem to remember your cousin staged a scene much like this in that trial 9 months ago. A half-witted child with a half-baked objection, attempting to steal the show. You're right, there were certain similarities. Except that so-called half-witted child managed to outwit the prosecution, who has only half a head of hair. Slander! My head is quite adequately dressed. In any case, all this talk of stabbing and withdrawing in multiple wounds. Ooh, I almost dropped my water. It makes no jot of a difference. Why not? Engage your brain, young man. When the accused first plunged the deadly weapon into the victim, that was the fatal blow. And it was that moment just as she had withdrawn the blade ready for her next strike that the witnesses saw. The knife was already tainted with blood because the accused had already been stabbed the victim. Oh, you have successfully shown with your little display that the mustached Arthur is prone to moments of extravagance. Excuse me. I'm in agreement with the prosecution. The defendant was seen wielding the blade at all. That is sufficient grounds for her actions to be viewed with suspicion. But if she was withdrawing the blade, then we are back to where we started. Sorry? Consider this, young yokel boy. The student girl is innocent as you claim, then why would she have pulled the blade from the victim? And with a demon's cold-blooded composure, too. Prosecution demands an explanation. Yeah, it better be good. Why did Ray pull out the knife? I thought it was a pen. No, the pen was in the hand. Oh, well, wouldn't that make sense? Look at that. Looky there. Look at that little slit in the wall, bro. Ah, yes. Going for the jugular. What does follow mean by that? Let the court hear your answer then, counsel. Truth is, I don't really know. But I have to come up with a plausible reason here. We don't have a case, or we don't have a case. The reason why the defendant pulled the knife blade out of the victim's body was surely so she could. According to the post-mortem report, the victim's death was not instant. That's correct. It's thought she would have remained conscious for a short while after sustaining the injury. Indeed, giving her time to take hold of this piece of evidence that clearly indicates her killer. But the point is, being a medical research assistant, Mbami-san was compelled to act when faced with the wounded victim. Instinctively, she pulled the blade out in an attempt to save Miss Brett's life. Did you hear that, Your Excellency? We received this the best we can expect of this young yokel. Indeed. Ugh. Is it just me, or does it suddenly feel much colder in here? Your Excellency, if I may? Speak, witness. I would like another opportunity to testify. With respect to the slipshod assertion just put forward by the yokel defense counsel, I mean. Slipshod. Excellent idea, Inspector. Our young yokel, hopeful, has a modicum of knowledge when it comes to the law, it seems. But in matters of medicine, he appears to possess not one iota of common sense. Very well, Inspector. I'll permit your request. You will testify again before the court on the subject of the defense counsel's assertion. Yes, sir. I will do so flawlessly. Pulling a blade from a wound without thinking could cause heavy bleeding. That's basic knowledge that any medical research assistant with an ounce of sense would ought to know. In other words, there's no good reason why the defendant would have tried to pull the knife from the victim. Let's not forget that the young student did have a motive for killing the victim. The man the victim murdered 9 months ago, Dr. Wilson, was the defendant's highly respected mentor. Just going by thoughts, that doesn't count, bro. It's cheating. Is what you said true, Inspector? Could pulling a knife from a wound really cause the wound to bleed heavily? Yes. Think of the weapon itself as a stopper in the wound that prevents excessive blood loss. Until a doctor is ready to provide proper treatment, that stopper shouldn't be removed. Oh, I see. This is why yokels should stay on the farm. Even a quack from Some obscure mountain village would have such basic knowledge. Anyone who's ever given some little poke with a knife and pulled it out again knows it. Oh, well, I've never stabbed anyone, you see, or pulled the blade out of a wound, so... Of course you haven't. I am bringing you up to behave like a bandit. Father, is it true, what they're telling me? It's basic remedial knowledge for medics. Ray would have been well aware of it. If she were to claim ignorance of such fundamentals, that would prove fatal in many ways. Then why would Ray have done it? Could she have pulled out that knife in full knowledge that it would be fatal for Miss Brett? I don't know. Ray never once mentioned anything about the knife to me. It seems almost impossible to believe, but... Could my friend actually have... Susato. Yes? Pull yourself together. We mustn't lose sight of why we're here. Ah. Counsel, it's time for your cross-examination. Oh, yes, Your Excellency. However, I must warn you that if your cross-examination fails to identify any issues with the established facts, I'll be moved to my education immediately afterwards. I understand. Believing in your clients and fighting for their cause until the bitter end. I knew it would be hard, but I had no idea it would be this hard. Alright. What do we have at the court?
Hold it!
Hold it! You say doing it without thinking could be a problem. Does that mean that if you used due care and attention it would be alright? I wouldn't have thought this needed spelling out, really, but... The blade is like a stopper in the wound. Remove it and a serious hemorrhage will occur. In other words, a medic would need to be present before any attempt was made to withdraw the blade. Doing it without thinking would be madness. You just can't do it. Oh, well, thank you for such a thorough explanation. You see, Counsel, when you act without thinking, the result is a bloodbath. Back to the witness testimony, please. That's basic knowledge that any medical research... Okay.
Hold it!
In that case, there's an obvious explanation here. Which is... Clearly, the defendant, Raymond Bami-san, does not possess an ounce of sense. Tch! What do you think about that, Professor Mikotoba? I'm not sure that you should be labeling your best friend as lacking in common sense. Well, I thought it would be better than labeling her as a murderer. I don't know young people today. That's friendship. I don't understand it. Careful, Counsel. A lack of common sense can be a very dangerous thing. Oh dear. That recoiled on me rather badly. That's life, I'm afraid. And a lesson that everyone must learn. Alright, come on.
Hold it!
Well, the defendant had surely encountered somebody she knew lying on the ground bleeding to death. The sight could have shocked her delicate sensibilities, causing her to remove the blade inadvertently. I really don't think inadvertent actions can explain this. The woman is a medical research assistant. I can't imagine she would behave so irrationally. Oh, but irrational behavior is a woman's prerogative, isn't it? Oh dear. You have a lot to learn about women. Only a small-minded man could have such bigoted views. Oh dear. Perhaps I'm letting my male persona take a hold a little too much. Well, have I managed to convey the basics now? That should cover the medical side of the argument.
Hold it!
Whatever the motive, it just isn't in Membami-san's nature to do something so awful. But she had both a motive and an opportunity. It's very hard to argue against. But we don't know the defendant.
Objection!
Choo! And you, counsel, do not appear to know the law. Yes, evidence is the only way to convince the court of your argument, not feelings. With this, fledgling to defender, I would almost say I pity the accused. So do I.
Hold it!
Well, yes, that's true. Dr. Wilson recognized Membami-san's talent and offered her the position of assistant despite her being a woman. She was extremely grateful to him. Yes, the Englishman appears to have been a very broad-minded individual. Dr. Wilson had no time for outdated traditions. He met with opposition, of course, but he believed firmly in Membami-san's abilities. Clearly, the defendant was in the man's debt, which only serves to prove my point. This is hopeless. I can't find a single crack of this testimony anywhere. Frey knew that withdrawing the knife from the wound would threaten Miss Brett's life further. She can't think of any way to explain why she did it. Susato, it's at times like this when it's especially important to remember the fundamentals. Fundamentals? Evidence is what counts in the courtroom, isn't it? I think perhaps you've forgotten something, though. You need to take the evidence at face value. You can and must examine it in greater detail, too. I realize it's your first time playing the role of lawyer in the courtroom. So if you need reminding of the rudiments, you need only ask. I'll do my very best to help. Oh, now we can look at it like this. This is the newspaper for Sosuke-san. There seemed to be an important article on the back page as well. Exclusive. Deadly poison stolen from Yume Medical Research Laboratory. From Yume's Medical Research. Father, isn't that your lab? What the? Let me see that. The poison's been stolen. It's this morning's paper that Sosuke-san gave us. Are you saying you didn't know? As embarrassing as that is for the head of the laboratory, I didn't. I've not heard any such thing. Where on earth could the reporter have gleaned this information? Come to think of it, there was no article mentioning the story in our paper this morning, was there? The highly toxic poison we've been working on the strictest confidence. I put Ray in charge of the project. Ray? She was managing it? If what's written here is true, it means that she tried to hide the theft from me. And moreover, the details were leaked somehow. I don't believe it. We need to read this article very carefully. Practice England returnees tell all. This is the interview with you and Sosuke-san, is it, Father? Looks as though it was quite an exchange. Yes, he became a little over-animated when he was talking about his time in England. The photograph managed to capture the moment his hand karate chopped me on the neck. I do hope you weren't hurt. Following a lecture at Yume by Sosuke Natsume on the 11th of August, it comes to light a very disturbing incident took place. A deadly poison being secretly developed in the university's forensic laboratory was stolen. When the smallest amount entered the body into the via the mouth or via a wound, a poison-laced blade would prove fatal in minutes. Current methods cannot detect the newly developed chemical. The university would have to be consulted. Onset of symptoms occurs in minutes, starting with impaired breathing, ending with acute contraction of the pupils prior to death. Such symptoms would be suggestive of this toxin. Apparently an entirely new synthesis of alkaloids, and rumored to have been commissioned by the military. So that knife was imbued with poison, is what I'm getting at. Alright, hold on. I need another water. I'll be right back, fellas.
Objection!
No, there is one possibility. One very good reason why the defendant might have decided to withdraw the knife from the victim's wound. What? Yoko not only has a poor grasp of the law, but is also a poor loser. Tell us then, what possibility do you think you've identified? It's here in this newspaper article. Article about a deadly poison had been stolen from a laboratory at the Imperial Yume University.
Objection!
The victim perished from a stab wound. Poison has no relevance in this case. But, Prosecutor Ouchi, you will let the defense speak. But in a newspaper article, the court cannot rely on the kind of hearsay those wretched publications carry. Counsel for the defense. I'm going to need some tangible basis for your claim. You will indicate to the court precisely what part of the newspaper article mentioned affirms your assertion. Your Excellency. Yes, of course. Thank you. Or would have never have done something to further endanger Miss Brett's life without just cause. The reason why the defendant pulled the knife from the victim's body explained the article where it says, the poison was apparently stolen from a medical research laboratory at Yume University. Yes, it would seem so, calling department security practices into question. The very department of the professor standing so nonchalantly opposite me, I believe. Ryotaro. Oh, yes, father? Was there some reason you felt it necessary to highlight the fact that the theft occurred in my department? How can I explain this? It was the first detail I cast my eye over, I suppose. I suggest you read that article again, carefully. I'm so sorry. Oops, wait, really? That wasn't it? Why is the poison being developed? According to the article, the development of the poison was requested by the military. Yes, a troubling revelation indeed. Oh, it's very worrying. Yeah, even more worrying. Oh, I guess it was that one. Tiny quantities. Probably should have. I even look at the green text. The article reveals the following property about the poison in question. When the toxins enter the body on a knife laced with the poison, it's rapidly absorbed and causes death in minutes. Are you suggesting the knife used to attack Miss Brett was laced with this very poison? It would explain why the defendant, Minbami-san, would have withdrawn the blade as soon as possible. Yes, the truth is, it was an attempt to stop the poison from entering the victim's body. What? I love this song, bro.
Objection!
I know, I'm fucking it up, bro. My bad. I gotta get back into the swing of it, bro. This is complete and utter nonsense. Not at all. The defendant withdrew the knife blade from the victim's body not to accelerate the woman's demise, but to save her life, and the prosecution cannot deny the possibility. Have you not read the post-mortem report? The cause of death was hemorrhage. The report appears nowhere in the document. Well, that's because by acting quickly to remove the blade, the defendant prevented the poison from taking hold.
Objection!
Oh, please, this is clearly desperation. Weasel's last breaking of wind. Poison has nothing whatsoever to do with this case, as I believe the defense is well aware. We have no proof that the information in this wretched newspaper article is that reliable anyway. In that situation, what the student should have done is wait for medical assistance to arrive. By the same, you claim to she suspected the poison and took the potentially lethal decision to remove the blade. She must have had a strong reason for her suspicions then. Well, the argument makes no sense. Exactly. Well put, Inspector. On what grounds did she do it? did she do it, Yoko? Why did Ray suspect the stolen poison was involved? If you want grounds, I'll give you grounds. What? You can't possibly. From your expression, Counsel, it would appear those are not empty words. But naturally, as you stand in this courtroom as a lawyer, you must be aware that words alone, empty or not, are of no value in our modern justice system. The court demands evidence. Yes, Your Excellency. I'm well aware of that. I've seen him many times from my place at his side in the Old Bailey. In that case, Counsel, you will present the proof to the court now. W. Bappy. Hey, Bappy. Appreciate the lurk, homie. Hopefully work's going okay, buddy. What evidence demonstrates a clear link between this case and the poison in the news article?
Take that!
I would ask the court to refer to the notes section of the post-mortem report, which reads, extreme meiosis, pupil constriction, was observed in the victim. Ah! Clearly, being a yokel with no knowledge of forensic science, I have no idea, so please do tell. Presumably, the fact that this condition of the victim was noted in the post-mortem report means that it's an unusual symptom of death. Well, under normal circumstances, the pupils dilate when someone dies. If there was an extreme constriction instead, that's most certainly unusual, yes. What are you doing, you yokel detective? In the newspaper article, there's the following information about the stolen poison. Onset of symptoms occurs in minutes, ending with acute contraction of the pupils prior to death. What? If the defendant, upon seeing the victim stabbed in the back, happened to notice that the pupils of Miss Brett's eyes had constricted severely. Yes, as the medical researcher says, she would have suspected poison immediately, without doubt. Prosecutor Ouchie, I think you'll agree. This is very compelling evidence. You yokel student and yokel professor? I keep calling us yokel, bro. I believe the defense has expertly demonstrated a credible reason for the defendant's actions. No. Yuji Mikotoba. Yes, Your Excellency? I believe you are best placed here to confirm or deny the veracity of the defense's counsel agreement. You will tell the court the truth about the details reported in this newspaper, please. Pains me to have to admit it. I'm afraid I don't know. You don't know? The toxin was kept under lock and key in my laboratory, certainly, but I was unaware of any theft. Do you mean to tell the court that the reports of this theft are unfounded? No, Your Excellency. Although I returned to the laboratory to investigate myself, I couldn't say. Listen to the bumbling academic. Unaware of the theft of secret state research from his own workplace until he reads it out of a newspaper. I take full responsibility for the incompetence of my supervision. Father. Pitiful situation for a university professor. You should have more control over your students, rather than allowing them off on killing sprees. That's totally unfounded. Uh-oh. Was that Hosonaga? Oh, shit. I'm the best snitch in this world has ever seen. W snitch, bro. W snitch. W flex, Julio. None of this is Professor Mikotoba's fault. It's all my fault. Right? And Bami-san, you stand accused here. Outbursts like this will not be tolerated. But it was me. I was the one who noticed that the poison we were developing had been stolen that day. What? So you knew? I've been placed in charge of overseeing the project. was the day that the professor and Sosuke-san were interviewed together for the newspaper. That's when I noticed that some of the poison was missing. Just a tiny amount it was. Why didn't you let me know immediately? I was scared. The whole project was supposed to be confidential, but some of the toxin had somehow been taken. So I decided I'd try to get it back before anyone else found out. Because I had a very good idea who the thief was. The thief? You don't mean... Yes, of course. It was that dainty English woman. Miss Giselle Brett? Hi, Dom. It's going, man. That's why I decided to join the little group of people going to the seaside. Inside the beach hut, I confronted Miss Brett. She just sat on a stool at the back of the hut, smiling sweetly at me as if she knew she was untouchable. I know it was you who stole the poison. Well now, whatever do you mean? Saw those new rules yesterday though? Yeah. They're kinda crazy. And then she suddenly got to her feet. Before falling to her knees in front of me and then collapsing on the floor. That's when I saw the knife in her back. I couldn't understand what had just happened. And then a moment later, I was seized with fear. The pupils of her eyes they'd shrunk to tiny pinpoints. I don't believe it. In other words, you realize that the victim was suffering the effects of the stolen poison. My mind started racing. I hadn't seen anything past Miss Brett's lips whilst I'd been with her. Which only left one possible way for the poison to have entered her body. On the blade of the knife in her back. And that train of thought was what spurred you to withdraw the blade. Yes, the amount that had entered her bloodstream was small enough she might still have a chance. That's what I hoped. Really. I'm so sorry for staying silent all this time. Your attempt to hide the truth of what happened is not something that can be overlooked. However, I have duly noted the courage of which you confess in the end. Thank you, Your Excellency. It's barely precipitable, but I do think the balance has shifted a little here. In this courtroom now.
Objection!
Your Excellency, do not be deceived. The victim just collapsed before your eyes, you say. Well, Minbami-san, if that's the case, perhaps you can explain how Miss Brett came to be stabbed. Well, you have no answer because the simple truth is that you stabbed the victim motivated by revenge.
Objection!
But you have no conclusive evidence to prove that assertion, do you? Oh, I have evidence, and it's very much conclusive. What's prosecution counsel up to? It was brief, but he hesitated for a moment there. I'm almost sure of it. The camera shake effect made it look like Ray slammed her face into the railing when she bowed. I thought she slammed her face too. I thought that's what they were going for. This isn't Guraka. Shut up, Bendy. You will produce the aforementioned evidence at once, Professor Ouchie. Prosecutor Ouchie. Perhaps some praise is due, young Yokosun. What? I had imagined there would be no need for me to submit this evidence. Well, you brought this on yourself. What the? Could a more damning shot exist? The cruelty in the air on the beach is almost palpable. The evidence, more than any other, reveals the true extent of the accused's murderous nature. For it shows the precise moment that Minbami-san plunged her dagger into the victim's back. No, that's not true. No. I don't believe it. Why would she be on the ground laying on her stomach like that in the hut? Counsel for the defense, was it you who was responsible for that shrill scream that just pierced my courtroom? Professor's voice has yet to break. These yokels are slow of mind and slow to mature. I'll show you who's slow to mature. Careful now. Susato is starting to show her face here. It is often said that a picture is worth 1,000 words, and here we have ample proof. The court will accept this extremely cogent photographic print as evidence. Nice. I can't believe he's had a photograph like that put up his sleeve the entire time. It's such a stark image, I'm genuinely lost for words. Wait a minute, I don't understand. How did you... I mean, who took that photograph? Hey.
Objection!
That's of no importance here. Stop trying to divert attention. Oh.
Objection!
That's an absurd thing to say. It's crucially important. Whoever took this photographic print was a witness to Miss Brett's death. Court must be allowed to hear this person's testimony. I will uphold the defense's demand. Prosecution will reveal the identity of the person responsible for taking this photograph at once. Well, I'm afraid I can't do that. Pardon? I'm fairly certain all parties involved are supposed to know all relevant evidence beforehand. But sure, this is Ace Attorney. That's never a thing. But there was nothing to indicate the sender's name or address. The provenance of the print is unknown. Goodness. Are we to understand then, counsel? That in full knowledge of the fact that this photograph has the murkiest of origins, you nevertheless believe it fit for submission as evidence to the Supreme Court? When you first produced that print before, I noticed that you hesitated for a brief moment. Because you knew that it wasn't completely reliable evidence, didn't you? Silence, you yokel student and blabbering professor. What matters is the blatant truth that this print so eloquently expresses. Well, the defendant has already admitted to pulling the blade from the wound. Clearly, this isn't the moment that the knife wasn't plunged in the victim's back, but the moment it was withdrawn? Don't waste this court's time with your ramblings. Who is this Ryutaro? We don't know, Bendy. Who possibly could it be? Indeed, without knowledge of who produced this print, we have no means of verifying the claim. It's Susato. So pretty much in Japan, women weren't allowed to be lawyers. But she's pretty much defending her best friend right now, acting as a man. And the scene it captures, without doubt the most compelling evidence presented to the court. If the defense is unable to shed any further light on the matter, I believe the conclusion is clear. Is this Mulan? It is not Mulan. Yeah, Susato. Oh no. Oh no! Susato, this is the time for you to fight. If what you've established so far is true, there can be no doubt. This photograph shows the moment that Ray withdrew the blade from the victim. Yes, we just need to prove that somehow. Yeah, plenty of time to rue your defeat on the slow train back to the provinces. I'd be responsible for like half the motherfuckers drawing porn in the art category getting banned. Good. Fuck 'em. If I can't determine who took this photograph, then the trial's going to come to an end. There must be a clue somewhere. There must be some way of working out who took it. Well, counsel? Your Excellency, the burning question is who took that photograph, and the truth is, I have the answer. They should be banned. What they're doing isn't art, that's just porn. It's gross. Alright. This is about whether I can or can't come up with the answer now. I simply have to. The identity of the person who took this dramatic photographic print is, I assure you, something the defense can and will reveal. What? No, you can't possibly. But, as you so boldly claim that you can, please, do enlighten us. Unfortunately, I'm unable to present a name. How utterly underwhelming. Did you really believe you could? However, I am able to present evidence. The defense is a piece of evidence that reveals the important details about the photographer's identity. What? Very well then, counsel. Present your proof to the court. Which piece of evidence do you claim reveals something about the identity of the mysterious mystery photographer? Hi, Sunrise. Welcome to the stream, homie. Hi, hello. This was taken on the same day, so... I just started this game yesterday. The first game or the second game? I beat the first one yesterday, too. Oh, nice. W. I played the first one back in October. I'm just getting to the second one right now.
Take that!
So far, I like it. What is that? The newspaper again? It's not the headline that's relevant here, Your Excellency. It's the photograph. If you look at it closely, you'll notice that there are some white lines on the right-hand side. Ah, yes, indeed. It had already caught my eye, as it happens. Huh, what of it? A shadow of some kind, presumably, on the branch of a tree, or the like? There are no trees growing inside my laboratory at the university, I can assure you. How'd you like the first one, Sunrise? Good gracious! Great googly moogly! Yes, exactly the same pattern of lines is present on this photograph, too.
Objection!
Well, that tells us nothing. It's a shadow of some kind, definitely, from the branches of a tree. There wouldn't be any trees growing inside a hut at the beach, Council. What's quite remarkable about it is that the two patterns are absolutely identical. How could such an extraordinary similarity have transpired? Curious matching pattern that appears on both photographic prints is a result of a camera defect. Obviously, it must be due to a problem with the camera used to take the photographs. With the photographic device? Yes, we can confidently say that the camera's lens must be scratched. If the scratched lens causes unwanted lines to appear on every print taken with the device. In short, the two photographs under consideration here were taken with the same camera. But there must be hundreds of such camera devices here in the capital. It would be utterly impossible to identify the owner of this particular one.
Objection!
I think you're forgetting, Prosecutor Ouchie, that one of the photographs featured in a newspaper article. A newspaper... Ah. That's right. The author of the article is the mystery witness to this crime. I see why you were called a Rackus England returnee. What are you yelling about? You've already testified. It's Menamimo, I tell you, Menamimo. Mimo. This fucking guy, bro. Basowski-san? What was that? Did you say Menamimo? Ever since I returned to Japan, A reporter from the Shoyu News has been hounding me, following my every move. A reporter by the name of Reitan Menamima. Yes, hounding me from dawn until dusk. Ah, now that he mentions it, I fucking knew this motherfucker had a part in it. I knew it. I knew it. Guy did a thruster in his name. Yeah, this guy's a little weird. So cool, Sosuke's in this game. So Sosuke's an actual real person. Is he? I feel like I've had this conversation with someone, but I didn't know. I didn't know that. That's cool. Who was he? Could that same reporter be? A camera to the left of him, a notebook to the right. There I am, stuck in the middle with Reitan Menamima. So you're saying that this picture was taken by Menamimo? Yes, my lord, your excellency, Esquire. Officer, find this newspaper reporter at once and bring him to my courtroom. We will adjourn for a short recess in the meantime. Oh, yes, your excellency. As you say, your excellency. And one more thing. I want this knife, the murder weapon, examined for traces of poison. You will solicit the assistance of the Imperial University's medical department for the task. Understood? Meh. Damn, that is new for sure. What is it? I love this music. So lucky my Twitch app has been fucked since I installed it, and Lily has never showed any ads. You're so lucky, bro. On the right side of the screen, yes, that's it's newer. I mean, it's been there for a while, but it's definitely newer. I get that one a lot. Natsume Sosuke was a novelist during the Meiji era and was considered to be a very good one. Nice. I think they were just talking about that era in this game, if I'm not mistaken. W. Was he as weird as this guy in the game? I'm playing Skyrim, and why the fuck did they mix the mods with Creation Club? I don't know. How am I supposed to know? Gorilla. I'm so sorry, Susato. I should have told you about the toxin. Ray. You have a strong sense of responsibility, I know. That's why you decided to shoulder the burden alone. No, that's not it at all. I was scared of my failure coming to light. That's all. I didn't expect you to answer. Brudge sit? Don't brudge sit me. So I hope to retrieve the substance from the Englishwoman before anyone found out. Before the trial started, do you remember what you said, Susato? That you had no doubt in your mind about my innocence? That you'd stand by me to the last? I remember. And yet I didn't deserve your trust in me. I hid important details from you, Susato. I completely betrayed your faith in me. Hit me, Susato. I deserve it. No, in fact, throw me to the floor. No, that's too good for me as well. Drag me through the city streets. I'm no better, you know. Oh. Even though in my heart I knew that you'd pulled the knife blade from Miss Brett's back. There was just a brief moment when, in my mind, I doubted you. I'm sorry. After I stood here and promised you that I'd stand by you always and be on your side, I betrayed your faith in me too. It's not even Monka TOS, bro. I bet they allow that on Twitch now. She's kind of kinky. And as such, I failed you as a lawyer. I think the situation has taught both you a valuable lesson. Placing your bridles faith in another is no easy task. Fuck you, dumb. Yes, Father, the fact that has certainly struck home. Which is why I can see more clearly now, so Ray. Yes? Can you find it in your heart to forgive me? Oh, Susato, you are forgiven. You know you'll always be a gallant, dashing lawyer in my eyes now. Oh, Ray. Boom, 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 boom. W. Ray. Bim, 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 bim. Give me 1 second, bro. I was so scared, you know, when it happened. I didn't know what was going on. The Englishwoman was sitting at the back of the hut, listening to what I was saying. I know it was you who stole the poison. Alright, I've already read this. Girl collapsed on the floor in front of me, with a knife in her back. It all happened right before my eyes. And you were the only people in the hut at the time? That's right, just Miss Brett and myself. There was no one else. So I just don't understand how she could have possibly been stabbed like that. A great mystery indeed. I still can't believe it happened. That's why I just couldn't bring myself to speak up. It'll be alright. However, it happened. And whatever really went on by the sea that day. I promise you that I'm going to prove everything you said you saw was true. Your miscalculations will cost you everything. Spoken like a true Mikotoba. Now, I think we should discuss what's coming up in the trial, don't you? We don't have much time. We must make sure we have our facts in order. Yes, I expect the poison is going to come under close scrutiny in the upcoming proceedings. The police should hopefully have identified it on the blade by now. Trouble is, it's a completely new laboratory synthesized blend of alkaloids. The police won't have any way of testing for it. Oh, I see. Yes, without this chemical reagent, it's possible to detect the toxin. Chemical reagent? I sent a colleague of mine off with some earlier to deliver to police headquarters. I think perhaps you should have some as well, though, just in case. What's the matter, Susato? You're suddenly very quiet. This newspaper article. Exclusive. Deadly poison stolen from Yume Medical Research Laboratory. I'm wondering how the information got out, given that it was a government secret. It was all the Englishwoman's doing. What? It was when the professor and Sosuke-san were being interviewed at the laboratory. That so-called English lady swanned in, and without any compunction, said to Professor Mikotoba, "Oh, Professor, surely your guests would love to hear about your work on that substance there." It put me in a very awkward position, to be frank. Sosuke-san's curiosity had been piqued, so I had little choice but to give him a cursory introduction. So then Sosuke knew about the poison. Yes, and it's highly likely the reporter who was writing up the story about us would have caught a glimpse of the toxin too. This Minamimo-san. By the way, did that reporter join you all when you went to the beach? Oh, no, I don't remember the reporter being there. Indeed, he shouldn't have been. I very much doubt anyone would have wanted him there. Oh, a known criminal had been given permission by the authorities to bathe by the seaside. Sosuke-san pointed out that inviting a reporter might be problematic, so the man was sent back to his office. Yeah, he obviously didn't go back. He secretly followed the party to the beach and took this very candid photograph. And then presumably he posted it, anonymously, to the police. It must be what happened. Counsel, we've just heard that the new witness is now ready to testify. The trial is about to resume. Please proceed into the courtroom at once. It's time to steel ourselves once again. Defense attorney, Ryutaru Naruhodo. Yes. Ray has put her faith in me now and told me everything. So I can't let her down. I have to prove what she's telling the court is true. I have to prove what really happened that day. You talking about Fallout? Yeah, you are. Only Fallout I played is 4. I hereby call this court to order as reconvened to continue the trial of Ray Mimbami. Our category is actually safe to look at now. They're actually taking action. Why is the first thing I see basics of twerk? Our category is pretty okay now. I think it's literally just a channel of... It's just a channel of people twerking. Oh my god, bro. Get me off, get me off, get me off. What the fuck? Alright. I hereby call this court to order as we reconvene to continue the trial of Ray Mimbami. Prosecutor Aochi, have you summoned the new witness? Before I address that question, Your Excellency, I have some very important news to share. Oh? Do not say get me off when you're talking about a twerky stream. Get me off the stream. Yo, guys, come on. Get your minds off the gutter. But why does he look so happy about it? During the recess, with the collaboration of Professor Miko Toba's laboratory at Yume University, the police report re-examined the knife that was used to end Miss Brett's life. Excellent. I admire your rapid handling of the matter. Oh, too kind, Your Excellency. Too kind. I'm merely carrying out your instructions, of course. I had the region delivered to the police headquarters by rickshaw, so it would be there in good time. By judging by the man's swagger, I fear we might need to brace ourselves for the inevitable. Counsel, what were the results? This dagger, which was so cruelly used to end the life of the victim, has no trace of poison anywhere along its blade. What? Are you sure about that? I'll stake the reputation of the police on it. On with the region, the test is extremely simple. They couldn't have made a mistake. No poison on the blade. In short, the accused's feeble excuse earlier has been utterly destroyed. Man, swagger. And what year was this game? A long time ago. Now, the prosecution is ready to call the new witness. Newspaper reporter who managed to capture a photograph of the crucial moment. Good. Very well, officer. Bring in the witness. No trace of poison on the knife. But if that's really the case, how could the toxin have entered the victim's body? Witness, please state your name and occupation for the court. Ray and many Mimo of the Shoyu News. I'm what people like to call a journal. What's a journal, Father? Do you know? It's simply a contraction of journalist. I'm there where the news breaks, putting pen to the paper and to catch those scoops so they're printing the next morning. Hold on. It will appears to be written in a foreign language that I don't know. It's German, so your knowledge of English is going to be of little help here, I'm afraid. Couldn't you just have written medicine on it in Japanese, and we all be able to read it? German is the international language of medicine, my dear. But yes, I can certainly see the merit in labeling the bottle in Japanese. Though I'm not sure medicine would be entirely appropriate. Oh yes, it must be the victim's blood. Oh dear, blood is never a pretty sight, is it? I'm having to fight the urge to run it under a hot tap and get it clean. I've always been fastidious about cleanliness, haven't you? I think this is something else, Father. Too. Okay. Going to be in Smash. Oh, what, that fucking little logo right there? You don't call me the hero of the herald for nothing. The nice guy of news. Oh, so, it was you who took this photograph, was it? Well, what we have here? I'm sorry? Oh, brace yourselves, people. Minimo sets a scoop in the offing. Female student up to foul play, defended by a curiously handsome young lawyer in Supreme Court. The readers will lap this up. We'll set it above the fold at 72 point in a 5-leg format for the morning edition. Nugget? Hey, Nugget. Hey, man. There's so many armbands in this court. Yep. Ooh, hold on. Bim, bim, bim. I like this guy's theme, bro. Goo, Nugget. Wait, where's Gumshoe during all this? Not even a thought yet, see? Gumshoe hasn't been born. Hey, hold on, this guy's theme kind of slap, bro. Hold on. Right then, let's start with your name. Oh, it's Ryotaro Naruhodo. Next, what made you become a lawyer? Well, I want to reform our country's legal system, I suppose. Ryotaro has suddenly become very ambitious, I see. I just borrowed Cosmo-sama's dream for a while. By the way, my name is Taketsuchi Aochi. It's Taketsuchi Aochi. Aochi. Gumshoe died in this timeline. Stop it, Joel. They're not even a thought yet, bro. This is way early. No, the readers won't buy that. What? Witness. Yes? What this court demands to know is whether or not you were responsible for taking this picture. Hey, Joel. It was delivered anonymously to the Imperial Police Bureau only yesterday. Yeah. I wouldn't be a journal if I didn't click quick when presented with a scoop like that now, would I? Sometimes stories call out to me, sometimes I have to chase them down, but either way, you gotta be fast. Fast legs to run with, and a fast hand to write with. It's no good if you don't note it down, I always say. That's what I call my menemim. I'm not even gonna try it. Ah, yes. I remember your face. We met that day when you were interviewing myself at Sosuke-san. Yes, right. That was me. Menemo, again. Well, you were supposed to be going back to the Shoyu news offices after our meeting. But the scoop is, I didn't. Because that Englishwoman's words had piqued my journalistic interest. Ms. Brett's words? A criminal, left to do as she pleases, just because happens to be a British citizen? It's horse dung. This country's judiciary is rotten to the core. The Supreme Court's rulings aren't worth the paper they're written on. The police are just imperial pawns. Stay your tongue, young man. There are complex political issues at play. Well, anyway, I quickly jotted down those words she said in my memo pad. Are you ready? I'll read out. It's all here. Right, here goes. I should like to go with everyone to see your country's coast. Serious criminal going on some junket. People need to know about this. That's why I decided to sneak after them. To get the woman's story so I could hammer her in the press. Do you mean to say that you did indeed witness that firsthand? The grim scene portrayed in this photograph? Oh yes, I saw with my own very journo eyes. From start to finish, through the viewfinder of my trusty camera. Thank you, Menememo-san. You will now give a formal testimony before the court. You will state exactly what it is that you saw. Surely it would be ink poisoning if it's a pen. Possibly. He just licked his pen. Looks like a pencil more than a pen. Seconds later, the girl pulled out a knife, throwing the Englishwoman to the floor as she stabbed her in the back. My smoldering journal spirit burst into flames. Quick as a flash, I whipped out my camera ready to click. I pulled apart the rough weave of one of the screens and poked the lens through for the perfect shot. The overly dramatic shot, the gavel slam every time. They do that in every game. Every Ace Attorney game, they'll do that. You can see them clearly enough in that great shot I snapped. The hut walls were just screens made of coarsely woven reeds. Yes, it allows the breeze to pass through and bring some relief from the summer heat. Business sit. Look how cute he is. And it was a breeze for me to poke my camera through and see the whole thing hotting up. In order for the time being, the appalling invasion of privacy involved. Did you witness everything that happened from the moment the defendant entered the hut? Oh yes, I saw it. I saw the whole thing from start to finish. And you say that you took the photograph through a gap in one of the screens. Luckily for me, they were pretty shoddily woven. I pulled the reeds apart and thrust the lens of my camera through the gap. Would I get away with it, or would I be seen? It was the gamble of a lifetime. A tenacity of purpose that's considered admirable in journalists, I suppose. Run a risk one day, run a scoop the next. That's the minute. I'm not reading that. At last, it would appear we have a genuine witness to this wicked crime. The evidence and testimony are extremely compelling. I believe we may be able to close the verdict. Wonderful news, Your Excellency. Wonderful. Nevertheless, it cannot be denied. But this testimony begs one very large question. What question? Exclusive news, a startling photograph, all the markings of an exceptional story for the reporter. Why then was the story never published? Oh, that's right. It seems clear to me that there are circumstances at play here that are yet to be understood. More pathetic excuses. Very well then, counsel. Proceed with your cross-examination. Yes, Your Excellency. There's more to this reporter than meets the eye. He's keeping something about this case very close to his chest. camera never lies. Alright, hold on. I'm gonna grab a drink real quick. It's kind of funny they did directly reference the political reasoning behind Japan's super rigging their court system. True! Hold on. Ow! I gotta grab a drink. We just got some more water. Water. I need some water. Bim, 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 bim. Bim, 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 bim. Press him on everything. What made you want to see what was happening inside the beach hut in the first place? Call it journo instinct. Can you think of a better reason? Oh, I don't know. Perhaps because as well as being a proven criminal, the person inside was a young woman. Ah, I see where you're going with this. Brace yourselves, people. He's painted the journal as a voyeur. It's hardly slander, sir. You had a camera and you were taking pictures without the woman's knowledge. Nope. You got it all wrong, little student boy. Sorry? To my mind, all that was inside was a scoop. Nothing more, nothing less. Scoops know no gender, man or woman. It's all news. That's not even memoism. It's basic journalism. Only the courtroom was as indiscriminate. Right? So if it's all buttoned up, can we move on? I forgot Propel existed until yesterday. I found a bunch of them for cheap though, so W. They're usually not cheap.
Hold it!
So you actually saw Membami-san entering the hut? Yep. She was raging like my journal spirit. The argument you mentioned. What was that about exactly? You stole it. I didn't steal it. That kind of thing. Talking about the poison, I suppose. The student girl walked right up to the Englishwoman and really started laying it into her. I mean, if she laid it into her anymore, there would have been eggs. Ayo. The man should have been an author. His descriptive talents are wasted on journalism. But the student's rantings fell on deaf ears, like a Japanese person listening to English for the first time. He really ought to work on his similes first, though, to be honest. Anyway, the point is, that woman as a doc was mightily angry. And her temper finally got the better of her, it seems. Dear me. Which was the climatic moment that I caught on film. Eggs? Hey, yo! That's what I'm saying, bro.
Hold it!
Do you swear before this court that you actually saw the precise moment when the stabbing took place? Precise moment? I didn't see just that. I saw the whole hellish scene play out, from start to finish. I have here a simple plan of the beach hut. Perhaps you could use it to explain to the court exactly what you witnessed. Right, you are. It's all here in my memo pad. When I first peered in the hut, I'm sure that the Englishwoman was on this stool in the back of the hut here. Yes, the accused's own testimony confirmed that. She just sat at the back of the hut, smiling sweetly, is what I have noted down. It's my turn to testify now. Try not to interrupt. Ugh. Then the next moment, as I was watching, the evil student girl entered the hut. After a while, the pair of them ended up in the middle of the hut, arguing furiously. The Englishwoman went for the student, but the girl dodged out of the way. and in a flash, plunged the knife into her adversary's back as the two passed each other. What you describe is a grim crime indeed. Never sugarcoat the truth. That's what the meta-memoism says. The beach hut plan has been entered into the court record. No, many memo. I think it's how you pronounce it. I could be wrong. I've had Propel like once. It wasn't too bad. Like I said, they can be pretty expensive at times. Whilst you were watching the terrible scene unfold before your eyes through the gap of the screen, did it not occur to you to try to prevent the tragedy rather than capture it on film? Journalists have to be observers. We can't get involved. That's our raison d'etre. So you didn't just converse with Miss Brad at all? Obviously not. An observer always remains on the outside looking in. And that's something to be proud of, is it? Your Excellency, if I may. Yes, Professor? I think the witness's last expertly phrased statement should perhaps be added to his formal testimony. Father? What are you? I will grant the defense's request. Memo-san, you will supplement your formal testimony with the aforementioned statement. Well, nihilism is the foundation of memoism, but I'll gladly prove that my words aren't meaningless. I never once set foot in the hut nor spoke with the Englishwoman. I was only there as an observer. Really? You didn't set foot inside the hut at all? Are you quite sure about that? I think you may have the wrong impression of me. We were talking about a murder scene here. My nerves were stretched to the breaking point already. He couldn't have seen a whole lot. No footprints. There's no footprints on the ground. Oh, I see. You were scared? Maybe I did have the wrong impression of you. Yes. It was all I could do to stifle a scream and hold my hand steady enough to snap the shot. You really should have summoned help before thinking of your camera. Memoism and humanism don't always agree. And most of the time, in those instances, memoism comes out on top. Huh. I remember when people were saying Propel was going to be the next big thing, and then it never dethroned Gatorade, even slightly. I don't think anything's ever going to dethrone Gatorade, I'm not going to lie. Surely he's making all this up. There was a couple things I didn't press.
Hold it!
The Corps is fully aware of your desire to capture the incident on film, I'm sure. But why then did you choose to post a photograph anonymously to the police? I'm afraid I don't understand a word that's coming out of your mouth. I'm asking why, as a journalist, you decided not to make a story out of the incident. Think of me as a sculptor who makes art out of the sordid, private details of other people's lives. Bendy, big frog, quick. But I never discuss my own personal life on principle. I mean, that's basic memoism. It's not something to boast about. No doubt your burning desire to see the truth exposed and justice done was what motivated you. That's it. That's brilliant. My burning desire to see something or other exposed. There has to be a good reason why he didn't think to write an article about what he saw, though. By your own admission, you were outside the hut. How then did you manage to take the photograph?
Hold it!
But the two women inside didn't notice? Obviously not. If they had, where would I be right now? In jail, that's where. Which you'd think would make you reflect on what you were doing. No, our journal's job is to collect little snippets of life as unobtrusively as possible. Leave nothing but footprints, take nothing but photos. Yes, that's spot on. Did he just make that up? Point is, the witness risked life and limb to obtain this photograph. And this photograph reveals the whole truth. There's nothing more to be said. I never once set foot in the hut, nor spoke with the Englishwoman. So it's definitely this one.
Objection!
That's not it. It's definitely got to do with that one. Never once set foot. Oh, now it lets us. RM. Oh, hold on a second, bruh. There's some sort of emblem here, look. But it isn't a Yume University one. Must belong to some other organization, I suppose, a business of some kind. But that would seem to imply that the pen doesn't in fact belong to Ray.
Objection!
Well, 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 Memo-san. Until now, I've had a firm belief that the newspaper are in the business of uncovering and publishing the truth. You're spot on there. Press doesn't lie, which is why I'm proud to wear the emblem of the Shoyu News on my arm. In a way, that's more Menememoism. Sadly, though, it seems the journalists who write for those papers don't always share the same passion for the truth. What are you suggesting with those recommendatory words, Counsel? Excuse me. Menememo-san, do you recognize this fountain pen? This pen was found at the scene of Miss Brett's death. In fact, the murdered victim was gripping it in her hand as she died. What are you? If you look at the barrel of the pen, you'll notice that its owner's initials are engraved there. RM. Yes, thank you for bringing that up, Counsel. The initials of the accused, Ray Membami. Is it a coincidence, I wonder? that your initials are also RM. No. Rayton Menememo, RM. That's horse dung. Casey, one of the central tenets of Menememoism is being a pencil user. And yet, as the court will clearly be able to see, on your right hand, there's a very obviously blue ink stain. It would appear that you must have rather carelessly left it somewhere recently. Your favorite fountain pen, that is. Horsey horse dung. Menememo-san, isn't that the case that before she died, you met with Giselle Brett in that beach hut?
Objection!
Why should we listen to this absurd nonsense? It's nothing but another excuse. Exactly. Show You News will stand behind me all the way. I deny everything. Must be as many people with the initials RM as there are stars in the night sky. The defense has neither the time nor the inclination to count every star in the sky. And there's no need anyway, because this pen has more to tell us. Yes, there is another clue. Really mad. A clue that undeniably proves whose owner it really is. In that case, counsel, the defense will now show the court where this alleged clue lies. Of course, Your Excellence. It's good. Oh my god, please.
Got it!
Got it! As well as the initials, there's also an emblem on this fountain pen. An emblem that you will, of course, recognize. Menememo-san. Goodness me! It's the emblem of the Show You News. In other words, the owner of this pen is an employee of the Show You News, whose initials are RM. Suddenly, the stars in the night sky don't seem so numerous, do they? Well, Menememo-san, how do you respond? Explain yourself, witness. So, this is how the mighty Supreme Court works, is it? Using coercive tactics to have well-meaning citizens reveal harmless secrets. I've used nothing but honest tactics. Alright then, fine. I won't try to hide it anymore. Yes, not long before that grim tragedy unfolded, I, a Show You News reporter on behalf of the public, conducted an interview with the Englishwoman. An interview? You never mentioned this before. When exactly was this? As I said, it was before that evil little Stoon girl showed her face in the hut. Couldn't have lasted more than 2 or 3 minutes, that's all. It was just a brief exchange. But it came to nothing, and as we... I'm not saying that. People don't pay their dues for unworthy news. However, insignificant you deem it to be, this court cannot overlook this meeting between you and your victim. You and the victim. We will testify now under oath about the precise nature of this meeting and what transpired. Got it. Yes, alright, but... Bim 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 ba ba. I like this song. Why are they allowing pole dancers on here? It's educational, Nathaniel. God. Condition. In all good conscience, I couldn't speak out alone about this. You need to call back the earlier witness, Sosuke Natsume-san. Sosuke-san? Oh yes, according to my notes here, that man has a secret of his own. Embrace yourselves. It's not a harmless one, it's big. What? I can't call someone a simp without being banned, but I can twerk and dance strip? Can dance stripped up? Yep. Venomism states that one man's secret is every other man's front page story. Very well, I'll grant the witness request in this instance. Oh, shit. Officer, summon the earlier witness back to the stand. Soseki-san, hiding something? Witness testimony. I asked the Englishwoman for an interview, but she declined, so I left the hut without making a fuss. Then, watching secretly from outside, I saw the woman be stabbed and the other witness come running. The detective realized that the victim still had a pulse, so he ran off to fetch help. So when this writer man here asked the woman a very significant question. But he didn't say anything about that in his testimony, which is why Memoism demands I reveal it now. False advertisement, brudge shit. You tell him, Nathaniel. Tell him, bruh. The victim regained consciousness? And when she did you decide to ask her a question? That's, true. Yes. He did. And that's not all. The woman gave him a very definite answer. An answer that incriminates the accused. This is preposterous. Why am I only hearing about this now? No. Hold on. My throat is starting to fucking kill. Why didn't you mention this before, you yokel hack? It wasn't even a conversation. Yes, I did pose the withering English rose a question. I don't deny it. But she could no longer speak. She's barely conscious even. Counsel for the defense, I expect a thorough examination to be conducted here. This court must and will know the truth. Absolutely, Your Excellency. The reporter is claiming that Miss Brett implicated Ray somehow. What on earth could have happened in that hut?
Hold it!
You asked her for an interview, you say? Well, of course I did. I wanted to ask her about the incident she was involved in at the end of last year. About the case in which Dr. John H. Wilson lost his life? That's not the way I phrased it. Memoism calls for straight talking. Why did you murder Dr. Wilson, is how I put it to her. Yes, that sort of talking is as straight as a ruler. Ask every question if you're asking for a menu in a restaurant, I say. It's the best way. A veteran at the paper taught me that. How did Miss Brett answer? With one simple phrase. Mystery is a woman's charm. Whew! That told me. So I waltzed right out of there. Really, something about that doesn't seem to quite fit together. Leave every room as if you're waltzing in a dance hall, I say. It's the best way. Better at the paper tell me that. Open the art section and see furry cock. What happened to shame? Huh. You see what's going on there? I haven't been to the section yet. Art right now is the worst section out of them all. With this whole artistic nudity shit. Everybody's literally just drawing porn and hentai at this point. Hi, darkness. Hey, man. That was very persistent of you, considering that Miss Brett had just turned you away. Persistence wins the prize. Any moment... I'm not even say, we'll tell you that. Let them think you've left. Then just when they're lower their guard, that's when you swoop in for the scoop. The fruits of your labor are all too apparent in this telling photograph. Though I'm sure the young yokel student will rather not be reminded of this damning evidence. Actually, it's thanks to that photograph that we managed to identify this witness. Now that you found me, I'll tell you whatever you want to know. I've got nothing to hide. I'm sure.
Hold it!
Is Sosuke-san remained behind in the hut? That's right. Yep. Our author friend here was a blabbering wreck, shaking all over from his head to his toes, mustache twitching, eyes bulging. What do you expect? You don't know the terrifying troubles that taunted me whilst traveling abroad. That is true. They'll be coming for me, surely. That's all I could think. I felt as though I was gasping for air, drowning in a sea of cold sweat. Poor Sosuke-san, experiences in London have scarred him deeply. As the world seemed to close in around me, I quietly recited a prayer to Amida Buddha. Eternal emptiness, empty eternity. The end is coming for me, surely. No sutras are to resound in my courtroom, please. And now, we come to the crucial part. That's when it happened.
Hold it!
What question? What exactly did he say? Well now, you should hear that from the horse's mouth, I think. Don't you, Mr. Rider-Man? Out with it, you yokel hack! What did you say to her? What did you say to the dying Englishwoman? Well, in truth, I've been catching crabs at the water's edge and building castles in the sand, you see. Well, seaside is the place to be at leisure, I suppose, even for a grown man. But then all of a sudden, from that little beach hut, young girls' panic-stricken cries for help pierced the air. Ray. I ran up to the beach to see what was happening, to find the defendant leaning over the collapsed victim. As soon as Inspector Hosonaga saw Miss Brett on the ground, he sprinted off to get help. And then, just a moment later, I heard a faint moan. A moan from the dead Englishwoman. I nearly jumped out of my skin. What would you ask her, Sosuke-san? I asked her, who did this to you? Don't protract this any longer. How did the woman respond? She didn't! She said nothing response! But... Uh-oh. He's shaking. When in the stand, you will answer the question asked of you unambiguously. Now, without evasion or reticence, I demand that you amend your testimony. Big fan. Legend, who shines love? Are you kidding me? What do you mean, who shines love? He's number 7 on the gift list, bro. He's been here for years. What the fuck do you mean, who shines? Oh shit. Oh, you're talking about Cheers. Oh. Yeah, Shine's the VIP in here too. You're at 69.69. You need a little over 2,000. Excuse me. I asked her, who did this to you? But she never replied. So you tried to find out who the culprit was? He who asks a question is a fool for a minute. He who does not remains a fool forever. Having been labeled a criminal twice during my time in Great Britain, I was quick to make up my mind. Better to be a fool for a minute than remain a fool in prison forever. However, you've indicated that the victim failed to respond. Is that correct? I know why. I know why the Englishwoman said nothing. She was ignoring me because of my stupid mustache, because I'm Japanese. Oh dear. Sosuke-san has really developed a dislike for the English, it seems. Having read the report on his time in Great Britain, I can't say I'm surprised at his xenophobia. But the Englishwoman didn't ignore you at all. Did she, Mr. Writer Man? Hmm? Well, yes. Alright, she did respond in a manner of speaking, I suppose.
Hold it!
Ms. Brett pointed a finger at the defendant? Sosuke-san, is that really true? It's not easy to stand here and say this, but... when we first entered the beach hut, the Englishwoman was sprawled on the floor before us, the student girl standing on the far side of her. When I asked, who did this to you? The Englishwoman summoned her last ounce of strength to point a trembling finger at the back of the hut. Which was... excuse me. Can't be denied. The direction of the student girl who stands accused today. No. Sosuke-san, why on earth did you neglect to mention this in your original testimony? But... Fiddlesticks, I say! This is not British court of law. You will respond in Japanese. Yes, of course, the Englishwoman did point her finger towards the back of the hut, but I was trembling, and she was trembling. Everything was a blur. And thinking about it, I feel as though perhaps she was pointing in a slightly different direction. Actually, no, not slightly, in a very different direction to where the student girl was standing. To somewhere at the back of the hut where nobody was standing at all. You mean that your memory of events and the direction in which the victim was pointing are both unclear? Yes, that's it, unclear. I'm very, very unclear.
Objection!
Your Excellency, surely this proves the matter beyond all reasonable doubt. Yes, the woman may barely have been conscious, and yes, perhaps her finger wavered slightly. But there can be no doubt there was an attempt by the victim to confirm the identity of her assailant. Why? Because as the court could see, there was no other than the accused in the direction the victim was pointing. It is now abundantly clear that no one besides the accused could have possibly committed this crime. I am inclined to agree. In the absence of any credible argument to the contrary, I believe we can now conclude that this trial... No. No, wait. It's not done just yet. Headline's running itself. Dashing lawyer's hopes dashed, 92 points across the whole page. Do an extra addition. This is a serious blow, Susato. Unless we're able to identify the true culprit and substantiate our claim with evidence, the judge will give his ruling, and the trial will be over. But that's impossible, Father. We don't even know how the crime was committed yet. Possible, though the task may seem, we have no choice. We must think back over everything we've learned thus far. Excuse me. Somewhere in all those details, I'm confident we'll find the clue we need. Ray gave us her account of how events unfolded in the defendant's antechamber before the trial resumed. She told us what happened at the precise moment Miss Brett was killed. A moment later, she suddenly got to her feet, before collapsing on the floor in front of me. How can Miss Brett have been stabbed in the back in a beach hut that was empty but for herself and Ray? Somewhere amid all the information we gathered so far, there must be an answer to that question. I've known this for a while. I take it then that the defense has nothing further to add. So the gallant yokel student's luck finally runs out. I can't say I'm surprised. In that case, I'm ready to deliver my final verdict on this matter. It is a crucial turning point now. If I can't establish what really happened, it's over. Where was the real culprit hiding? And how did he or she stab the victim? I know how.
Objection!
Your Excellency, I respectfully ask you to propose your education for the time being. To what end, counsel? The defense would like to present the court with an alternative theory. An alternative theory that can explain who the victim was actually trying to implicate with her dying gesture.
Objection!
Alternative theory, huh? None exists.
Objection!
There was someone else present at the scene who could have committed this crime. What? And the victim, Miss Brett, tried to reveal who it was to those around her at the time by mustering all her remaining strength and pointing a trembling finger in the killer's direction. This is fiction, fantasy. Very well. As you seem so sure of yourself, counsel, I am prepared to hear your alternative theory. So, young Ryutaru Naruhodo. Yes, Your Excellency? You will present your latest theory to the court by means of this plan.
Take that!
Naruhodo-san would never give up, and I am a Naruhodo now. The true culprit who fatally stabbed Miss Brett was concealed in this location here. Are you mad, counsel? You're suggesting the culprit was outside the hut? Oh, here comes the music, bro. Bing. But the student lawyer Naruhodo Esquire, that makes no sense at all. You just point out that exact spot where I was hiding to get my scoop snapped. But I didn't see any suspicious individuals loitering about, I can swear to that. Obviously, if the culprit had been outside the hut, there's no way that he or she could have stabbed the victim who was inside the hut. Actually, Prosecutor Ouchie, there is a way. And, in point of fact, the defense can provide evidence strongly suggesting that it's precisely the way Miss Brett was killed. You're bluffing. You're bluffing, you yokel. The defense assertion is clearly too fantastical for the court to comprehend. You'll need to give us more guidance, counsel. What piece of evidence corroborates your theory that the victim was stabbed from the outside the hut? Well, I presented it now, but I haven't the first idea why I chose this piece of evidence. Oh, come on, bro. So it's the floor plan then. Oh, not the floor plan, but the first piece of evidence. Excuse me.
Take that!
The original photographic print of the crime scene? Yes, it's clearly visible in this print. The trace of the fatal thrust that was delivered from the outside the beach hut.
Objection!
Do you take us for fools? There's no hint of any such thing. I'm not sure that everyone present would agree. Someone, at least, appears to have noticed what it is that I'm referring to. Counsel, once again, I must call on you to be explicit for the court. Where on this photograph is the trace of the stabbing which you can claim to took outside the hut.
Take that!
Look closely just here. In the screen at the back of the hut, you can see the effects of a blade having been forced through the reeds. I can't see any such thing. It's true that the hut in question had 4 walls as you would expect, however. By parting the reeds, a knife blade could easily penetrate them. This is extraordinary. Yes. The true culprit actually stabbed the victim from outside the beach hut. Ah. And if everyone present at the scene there is only one person who could have done that. Only one person who was directly outside the hut when Miss Brett was killed. Rayan Menememo-san, it could have only been you.
Objection!
This preposterous idea leaves me almost speechless. Just look at the photograph again. The victim lies almost exactly in the center of the beach hut, does she not? Are we to assume, as part of this partial scenario, that the assailant was a knife thrower?
Objection!
No, of course not. We're not? If you recall the testimony of the defendant about the events just before the victim's death, inside the beach hut, I confronted Miss Brett. But she just sat on a stool at the back of the hut, smiling sweetly at me as she knew she was untouchable. A stool. Have another look at this photograph. The slit in the reed screen would align perfectly with the back of a person who was sitting on that stool. My word. So, in fact, the victim was killed while sitting on that stool by a stab wound to her back delivered through the reed screen. Having been attacked, Miss Brett rose to her feet instinctively. But then, unable to speak, she collapsed onto the floor in the middle of the hut. Before the defendant, Mimbami-san's appalled eyes. And that, Your Excellency, is the truth of what happened on the beach that day. By your silence, Menememo-san, I take it that you don't deny the charge. This is absurd. That will do. It would appear that we have attacked tacit admission of guilt from the witness. Accordingly, this court has successfully established the truth of this matter, which means the defendant, Membami-san, is innocent of the crime. Oh, thank goodness. He's going to object this, of course. I finally made him cave. I must say, I've never been more proud. No, this can't be. The Ouchie clan can't. Well, my growth of hope. It wasn't all apparition. I can't accept this. I won't. I see no reason for the continuance of this trial. I will therefore move to conclude proceedings by delivering my... Yeah, I knew it. Obviously, bro. He's not going to go out like that, bro. Well, this is all very convenient. This is how the highest court in our mighty empire delivers justice, is it? Suppressing well-meaning citizens' freedom to speak and branding them as criminals. But we've established that the victim was stabbed from the outside of the hut through the reed screen walls. And no one but you was in that place at the time to have this hand on the hilt of the blade. It's a perfectly logical deduction. So your argument hinges on the location of whoever stabbed the Englishwoman, does it? Well, it seems a little irrelevant now. Relevant? Where she was stabbed, how she was stabbed. It doesn't matter. I mean, whether she was stabbed at all makes no difference if you think about it. After all, this child's already shown the whole thing hinges on something else. Looking? What are we looking at, bro? Wait, what are you talking about? Brace yourself, little man. I'm talking about the fact that everything's changed. Because of the dirt you dug up. What? Enough obscurity. Explain yourself, witness. What's to explain? I'm talking about the poison, of course. The poison? Let's ask the professor for a comment on the situation, shall we? I understand that a deadly poison you were developing was stolen from your laboratory, correct? It's been shown that the poison was administered to the victim, Miss Brett. Is that right? That is correct. The unusual constriction of the victim's pupils are a sure sign that the particular poison was used. I see. So presumably, that means... Uh-oh, Coolio. That the victim already had the poison in her body before she was stabbed. Ah. Given that her pupils were clearly constricted, it seems highly likely, yes. If she had been dead already, the poison could have not have circulated in her blood. How refreshing to hear the argument of a metropolitan mind. Precisely, it matters not a jot who stabbed whom in whose back and whose blade. Because, quite simply, the Englishwoman's life was taken not by the knife, but by the poison.
Objection!
Permission to shoot this bitch-ass man in the temple, Sir Gullius? Granted, detective. But that can be explained by the poison being on the blade, as I already...
Objection!
Forgotten already, have we, yokel? During these very proceedings, the laboratory of the professor at your side assisted in proving. But the blade of the weapon used to attack the victim had no trace of poison on it whatsoever. So let me get this down, the facts as skillfully established by the defense of this trial. Turned out to be headline-making red herring. Is that about right? Well... Where does this leave us? How, in that case, did the poison enter the victim's body? There's an undeniably obvious answer to that. The lady most likely imbibed it. Imbibed it. Imbibed it? You mean she drank it? Have another look at the photograph here. As you can see, a bottle of carbonated water and a glass had been knocked onto the sandy floor on the beach hut. Poison could have been slipped into either. So somebody may misbred drink it. Well, what do you know? Look at those dashing eyes. This will make a great front page shot. Hey, why the bewitching stare? After all, I'm the last person you should be looking at. It would make no sense at all that I poisoned the woman, would it? I mean, that's been established already.
Hold it!
Established? What are you talking about? Don't tell me you've forgotten. That's a little hard to believe, given that the person who established it was you. Me? What on earth does he mean? Oh, let me capture those wide eyes. This is prime press fodder, this is. This slippery little motherfucking weasel. He must have got, like, on the pen or something. That pen has something to do with it. It would seem that this trial is not destined to end yet, after all. I hereby call upon the witness to give further testimony. That's great, that is. Let me get a shot of that magnificent beard, Your Excellency. You claim it to be impossible that you were the one responsible for administering the poison to the victim. You will explain to the court in your testimony the basis upon which you make such a claim. I'm a journo, and I'm a man. I've never tried to run or hide from anything in my life. I'm not about to start now, because that's metamemoism. For a brief moment, I thought I'd illuminated the truth, but it slipped right back into obscurity again. Just where is this trial going to take us? Complete innocence. Oh yes, I stabbed the Englishwoman. It's the very fact that proves I'm innocent. Because why would I have bothered to stab the woman if I already poisoned her? When I heard the student girl and that pompous English murderer arguing, it got my goat. The courts weren't going to punish Brett for what she did. Someone else would have have to see justice done. You think the shit on his hand is the poison instead? So you admit then that everything happened as I described. That you are the one who stabbed Miss Brett in the back through the reed screen. Oh shit. A country that bows to the pressure of foreign powers and lets murderers walk free. What kind of future can a country like that have? That's why I did it. I did what our pathetic leaders didn't have the guts to do. Slap bang in the middle of that charming lady's back, I plunged the blade of sweet justice right in there. Someone who spends his life seeing the truth, that the truth is told. I feel really, really awful about giving false information in my testimony before. But as it turns out, there was somebody else who had an aim for the victim and got to her before me. What if that shit is the poison on his arm? That's right. You guessed it. That pretty little student girl. Now there's a woman after my own heart. You're implicating Ray again? She's the one who gave the poison to the Englishwoman and ended her pitiful existence. And suddenly, snap. This journal here is off the hook. The argument is sound, certainly. The witness had administered the poison himself. He only have waited for it to take effect. Subsequently, stabbing the victim in the back would have been entirely nonsensical. Therefore, this report had nothing to do with the poisoning. Yes, it's all quite logical. That's right. It is logical and true. I'm glad you've all seen the light. Justice at last. This is unbelievable. And after I made so much progress in proving his guilt, is he going to get away with it now? I'm fairly certain that defiling a corpse and attempting murder is still a crime. Right. And you know, false testimony. So. Think of Kazuma-san and Naruhodo-san. They never stop looking for a way forward until the judge's final gavel. Yes, Your Excellency. Okay, guys. Okay, Dom. I'm gonna head out and see if they have the Footlong That Matters subways. Do the new art section on Twitch 34. Alright, Dom. Sounds good, man. I appreciate you for hanging out, bro. Oh, real quick, I gotta piss so bad, bro. I've downed like 5 waters this stream already. I'll be right back. Hold on.
Hold it!
I just watched a motherfucker walk out of the bath without even using soap. Ew! Motherfuckers are gross, bro. Excuse me. Your sense of... He's claiming some sort of righteous indignation. She was pure evil, a cold-blooded killer who committed murder right here on our Empire soil. But did our good-for-nothing government do anything? Not a chance, so I had to step in. Fly the flag of justice, put things right for the people. Yes, it was my civic duty. That's what drove me to do it. So in summary, murderous intentions then. Whatever you want to call it, the point is this. That Englishwoman was a blight. So I had to do what was right for society. Yeah, a real wrong was done by the student girl in the dock, a crime for which she must pay. Obviously, because the poison was nothing to do with me at all.
Hold it!
So you still maintain that you didn't give the poison to the victim? Obviously. It'd be like putting a belt on your trousers when you were already wearing braces like these. The accused administered the poison following which this witness stabbed the victim. An unforgivable act, certainly, but not one of a murderer. That crime rests on the accused's shoulders. That is how the law works, you see, Yokel. Who knows? You may even learn something here today. 2 consecutive attempts on her life in the space of 2 minutes. Quite a day for the victim. Do something that evil and you've got it coming. That's how the law works. The law of reckoning. That's not the kind of law this court upholds. You will reiterate why you were compelled to stab the victim then, witness. Also, I'm like 80% sure that talking mad shit about Japanese government like that would get you arrested.
Hold it!
Probably. What exactly were they arguing about? This game pretty much takes place like the beginning of like the judicial court and whatnot. About what happened in that restaurant 9 months ago. That's what. The student girl was laying into the Englishwoman for killing her beloved mentor, Dr. Wilson. Yes, John H. Wilson. Professor of medicine, invited her here from England by Professor Mikotoba, no less. Shut up, Seed. Right, but the Englishwoman just jeered. Her case was to be heard by the British consular consular court in Shanghai. However, there was little doubt that she would simply have been acquitted and sent back to her homeland a free woman. It was eating that student girl up inside. You could see it. I really felt for her. I can't. I can't stand here and listen to this tripe. Ray? Young girl, you stand accused here. You can't just blurt out whenever you feel like it. No, you can't. Sorry, but I'm in the middle of something very important, some very important testimony here. Just keep quiet and listen. But this awful man is making all this up. Sato, please, you have to make them listen. Return to the dock at once, Membami-san. We are in the middle of a cross-examination.
Hold it!
Your Excellency, please, I implore you. That journalist is clearly not a trustworthy witness. It's a filthy, rotten, black-hearted, bigoted, dirty, great peeping Tom. Whoa, take it easy there. Please, I really think the court should hear what the defendant has to say. Your Excellency, I see no need whatsoever to entertain the accused's remarks. I will grant the request of the defense. But Your Excellency, this is likely to be the final cross-examination of these proceedings. As such, I believe it would be ill-advised to stifle the defendant's obvious concerns. So, whilst recognizing that the contravenes a regular protocol, I hereby call upon the defendant to speak. Oh! Thank you so much, Your Excellency.
Hold it!
The stolen poison that killed the victim, you mean? I suspected her of being the one to steal it. I mean, just think about how she killed Dr. Wilson. That's true. Additionally, Miss Brett certainly had knowledge of the new poison. But surely it would be no easy task to steal a highly secret toxin being developed for the government. Indeed, all visitors to the laboratory are thoroughly searched when they leave. Even if a thief managed to avoid being seen by myself or a colleague, getting the poison out would be very difficult. That's true. I pestered Professor Mikotoba until he agreed to show me the poison when I visited his laboratory. But as I left, I was searched from top to tail. Miss Brett Radley, so that shit on his arm is the poison! Rather bluntly revealed the existence of the toxin we've been developing, you see. It said Sosuke expressed such an interest in it, I felt unable to refuse. Obviously, I gave nothing away, other than the fact that it was an extremely potent substance. I'm very ashamed of myself. It's just that I've had a singularly terrible experience with a deadly poison. I wanted to look at my old enemy in the eye. Surely you can understand that. Found out my suspicions were true. I confronted Miss Brett about the poison. I told her that if I were able to, if there were to be an incident involving it somehow, it wouldn't just be the university. The military would be dragged into it. The whole government even. It would be a complete disaster. How did Miss Brett respond to your concerns? She just curled those beautiful lips of hers and said she didn't know the first thing about it. In English, actually. Ah, yes. Menememo-san, one small question if you don't mind. I do mind. Can't you see I'm busy? Clearly you were outside the beach listening in, whilst the defendant and Miss Brett were conversing. Presumably then, it was you who wrote the article about what you heard. Exclusive. Deadly poison stolen from Yume Medical Research Laboratory. The story was published in this morning's edition of Shoyu News. The details are too accurate for it to have been written by anyone else. Sorry, don't know what you're talking about. Yes, look at this. The entire article. It's almost what I said to Miss Brett, word for word. Well, Menememo-san? as a journo and as a citizen of a free country, I don't have to reveal my sources. That's a founding principle of meta-memoism. Father's clearly right about this. The reporter did write that article, and he based it on what he overheard from outside the hut. So that's what it was all about. You were trying to cover up the fact that you were listening in. That's why you came up with that stinking story about me arguing with her. Shut up! My stories never stink. Look, whatever you say, little girl, doesn't alter the facts. Your Excellency, there's something I want to say, and I want to get it on. I want it to go on record. Very well. Oh wow, he's going crazy now. Point is, if you poison someone, there'd be no need to go and stab them as well. Sorry if I stop talking there for a second. I'm coughing out a lung real quick. For a first episode, this shit's going on long.
Hold it!
Perhaps you doubt the efficiency of the poison and sought to make sure your victim would die. That's horse dung. What? That would be like pouring pepper on your Chinese ramen before you even taste it. Completely reckless. Although, it might surprise you to learn that I am a bit of an impetuous pepper pourer as it happens. Once the victim had taken the poison, she would have been only minutes away from death. Yeah, this man then proceeded to stab her in the back as well. There has to be a good reason for that. Reporter overheard the conversation between Ray and the Englishwoman. Ah, yes, that's it. That's when Meta-Memo-san first found out the exact nature of the poison he used. That could be the key. Also, why am I across the room? Is my mic fucked up? Hold on. Is it better? Can I have your lung if it falls out? I don't really need another one, but just to be safe. Yeah, I can have it. It'll be a collapsed, like, shriveled up lung, but yeah. It's all you, bro. Do I sound better? Hopefully I sound better. Bim, 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 bim. Better? Okay, W. This mic cord sometimes gets fucked up. I think the newsletter goes right here. Well, I can think of one reason. What? What? Save scum? I do save a lot. But before I explain, I'd like you to confirm something for the court. Did you glean all the information for this newspaper article from what you overheard outside the hut? Of course he did. There'd be no question of that. After all, when we were all in the laboratory together, all we were told was that it was a terrible toxin. There's one more important fact to consider. According to the witness, Membami-san's verbal attack against the victim began as soon as she entered the hut. In other words, it would have been impossible for her to have slipped the poison into Miss Brett's drink.
Objection!
Where are you going with this, counsel? Menememo-san has made it quite clear that he observed every single thing that happened in the beach hut. If the defendant had somehow found an opportunity, this man would have seen it. Which means that Miss Brett could have imbibed the poison whilst the defendant was present. In fact, must have been administered to her before Membami-san entered the hut. Yes, a very articulately put. When I walked into the hut, I immediately started to press Miss Brett about the poison. At which point, Menememo-san overheard some worrying information. Worrying information? What worrying information? The information which he subsequently included in his newspaper article, namely, that the poison was being developed in strict secrecy, that it couldn't be readily attained. Absolutely. In fact, that's quite an understatement. The only possible place it could come from is my lab. And furthermore, anyone inflicted by the poison would exhibit telltale signs of death. The extreme constriction of the pupils. Yes, it's quite stark when you see it. There are other poisons that show similar symptoms, but not amongst the new substances that are undetectable. In other words, it would be clear that the victim's life had been ended by the use of this particular poison, which would reduce the number of suspects to only a handful of people. Everyone in my laboratory is aware of the unique properties of the toxin we've been developing. None of them would be foolish enough to attempt to use it for some nefarious deed, Membami-san being no exception. Therefore, we cannot conclude that whoever administered this unique poison to the victim was a layperson, unaware of its telltale properties. In other words, someone like you, Rayen Menememo. It was you who stole the poison from the laboratory that day. It was you who administered it to the unwitting victim. But you quickly realized that that was a terrible mistake, because the poison caused such unusual symptoms it was so traceable. As you listen in from far side of the beach's hut thin walls, you learn these facts. But you're already given the victim the poison at that point. It was too late. So you hatched a plan to disguise your mistake. A plan that involved stabbing the victim in the back through the reed screen.
Objection!
But what good could that possibly do? Isn't it obvious, counsel? The plan was to kill Miss Brett before the poison could take effect. Once in the blood, the poison causes the onset of pupil constriction. But he had hoped to precipitate the victim's death before that happened, hadn't he? Exactly. Because without any revealing signs of the new secret poison's use, no one would ever have suspected. This is extraordinary. Yes, the effects of the poison meant it would be too easily identified, so the killer had to mask its use, which he attempted to do by plunging a knife into the middle of the victim's back. The argument presented is sound. The court is satisfied that it warrants consideration. The prosecution have a counter-argument it wishes to put forward? Well, there are a number of... yes, I counter completely. Oops.
Objection!
The prosecution's evasive response clearly shows That in much in the same way as his nurtures the remnants of his top knot, he is clinging to lost hope. Lost hope? No way, here we go again, right? I don't want to walk on the windy outside to order a taco salad and a pizza. W. You pathetic, useless, fallen samurai. Fallen? Who you call fallen? I don't need a counter argument. What? What are you talking about? It should be blatantly obvious. I stole the poison, you say? Gave it to the victim, you say? Stabbed her, you say? Lots of fine theories. But I don't need a counter argument because you don't have an argument yourself. Where's your evidence? Yes, you make it all sound so plausible, don't you? But without evidence, it means nothing. Whereas I base my news on facts. Facts? What do you mean? Explain yourself. I mean, what the professor said earlier in this trial. It's all here in my memos. Every word, every slip of the tongue, all noted. The show you news is famous for. It's the power of the printed word. No, I missed so much. Jiro, we're at the end of the first one, bro. No. So pretty much so far this first one, this first case is pretty much this person right here. That's Susato, but she's dressed as a male because females aren't allowed to be lawyers in this time. So she's dressed as a male defending her best friend, who's accused of killing the lady who killed the first guy in the first game. If that makes sense. The lady with the swan hat, I don't know if you remember her. How she killed the first guy, John H. Wilson. Sholmes' partner in crime. So yeah. She's accused of killing her. So, that's where we are right now. Even if a thief managed to avoid being seen by myself or a colleague getting the poison out would be very difficult. And we're blaming this guy for it, who's a reporter who wanted Miss Brett dead because he is a anti-government, our government sucks type of guy, so. How's that then? Blowing the story wide open? See? I memo, a mere reporter from the Show You News. Couldn't possibly have stolen that poison from the professor's laboratory. Check it later. W. There can't be any question of it. He must have stolen the poison that day. He stole it and used it to kill. And if that's the case, as you've identified, the poison itself is the definitive evidence we need. Because whoever stole it from the laboratory that day is the true culprit here. What's your point, you annoyingly handsome country bumpkin? My point is this. There's only one way that you, Memo-san, could have stolen the poison that day. I have heard enough verbal conjecture now. Thank you. What the court must be shown is evidence. Annoyingly handsome. That comes later, bro. That comes later. Oh, it was in the pen. Put that bitch in the pen.
Take that.
I lied. He did not put it in the pen. Fuck. Must have transferred a quantity of it to another container. Maybe I have to open it. It's definitely the pen. I have to open it. Maybe I have to open it. Is it in the blade somewhere? Open the pen. Must be the little reservoir that holds the ink. I guess you fill it by drawing ink from a bottle up through the nib. Is something wrong, Father? Just that there doesn't actually appear to be any ink in there, that's all. Oh yes, you're right, it's pretty much empty. Well, it could be on the verge of running out, I suppose. Save's coming. Oh, excuse me.
Take that!
The proof, Your Excellency, is this fountain pen. The fountain pen? How can that possibly be relevant? These magical pens somehow seem to have enough ink to write many thousands of kanji characters. I believe they arrived at our country for the first time some 15 years ago now. I swear by a weasel hair calligraphy brush and nothing else, these newfangled pens are merely a fad. Well, as forward-thinking man of words, obviously, I love my fountain pen. It's like a basukon of sumptuous ink. One's work is awash with words in the blink of an eye. That's right. Fountain pens have a small reservoir in the barrel, into which ink is sucked up through the nib of the pen in order to write with later. What does all this talky of sucking up ink have? It's just as possible to suck up ink into the reservoir. Also possible to eject it through the nib again, of course. My word, can this really be? Well, Menememo-san? When you saw the deadly poison before your eyes in the laboratory that day, you used your fountain pen, your very lifeblood, to steal some of it, didn't you? By siphoning the poison up through the nib and into the pen's reservoir. Bim, 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 bim.
Objection!
More absurdity, that'll never happen. True, it turned out there were procedures in place to prevent thefts like this from the laboratory. But anyone would have thought to look inside it. Would anyone have thought to look inside a fountain pen of all places? No. I'm a little ashamed to say that for fear of offending our guests, such a detailed search would not have been conducted. Well, this is quite startling, I must say. I remind the court that this pen was found in the clutches of the victim when she died. In other words, it was dropped at the scene by Menememo-san. So the crucial question is, when exactly was the pen dropped? Are you suggesting? The natural conclusion is that your haste to act whilst the victim was distracted for a moment. You dropped the pen after you emptied the poison from it into her glass.
Objection!
There could be any number of alternative explanations. For example, the witness could have been using his pen to write down details of his conversation with the victim. And when shocked by one of her outrageous answers, the pen fell from his quivering hand.
Objection!
No, that can't be. If it was, how do you explain why the pen was devoid of ink? What? As you can see for yourself if you examine the evidence, there would appear to be no ink present in the reservoir. I love this song, bro. What newspaper reporter goes to interview someone with nothing in his pen? No, the pen was dropped after the poison that filled its reservoir has been emptied in the victim's glass. Witness, what do you have to say in your defense? So this is how our modern justice system works, is it? So what if the ink in my pen runs dry? So what if my pencil snaps? I can always claw my way back into the game. I have plenty in reserve. He's going crazy now. I like this guy. You claim I sucked the poison into my pen. That's wild speculation, nothing more. If you thought I could bring down a fine, upstanding citizen with a trick like that, think again. Looks as though it's going to take one final decisive blow to finish this matter. As I see it, the situation is now very simple. Rest upon whether or not this witness did indeed steal the poison on the day in question. And therefore, it all depends whether or not the defense can prove that he did with evidence. No such evidence could possibly exist.
Objection!
Memo-san, this is how our modern justice system works. What? In the courtroom, evidence is everything. Something you would do well to remember. Because we are well past the point of speculation at this stage, I assure you. I object. Shut up, JD. The proof of your excellency is this fountain pen that I already presented, only I opened it this time. This is it then. This will be the final piece in the puzzle. Defense can vote by this means that it was this witness pen that was used to steal the poison. What are you staring at me for, bro?
Take that!
Counsel, what is that bottle? This bottle contains a unique chemical region that can identify the poison in question. Ah. Yes, that poison is an entirely new synthesis of alkaloids developed by my colleagues and I. It would be impossible to detect traces of it by any other method. Excuse me. Or from any other perspective. Simply, with this chemical region, anybody at all could check for these traces of poison. A region? What? One drop of the contents of its bottle on the tip of your fountain pen, Memo-san, is all it will take to solve this case beyond all reasonable doubt. No, you can't. I won't. Your crimes are bad enough, but at least know when to admit defeat. Your Excellency, the defense requests permission to carry out the test on the fountain pen at once. Ooh! This isn't my fault. The Empire drove me to this, trying to hold its head as high as civilization. Oh wow. Oh wow. Oh! Susato, with me. I'm there. Oh wow. Can you do that? The takedown, bro. Did I do it right? That was a Susato takedown, wasn't it? Not quite. That was a Ryotaro takedown. I don't think you can do that. But you know what? That was a W. That was cool to watch. The instant the first drop of the Regent touched the nib of the fountain pen, it was clear to everyone present. Aww. When I saw it there in the lab, the poison, the devil got a hold of me and I decided to do it on a whim. All out attack in court. They could have put Susato in Smash, bro. I excused myself and emptied all the ink down in the sink in the bathroom, watching the reservoir out carefully. And then you wait for an opportunity to suck up some of the poison, didn't you? Into your fountain pen. Yes, that's right. It had to be one thing, Menememo-san. Why'd you steal it? For what purpose? Isn't it obvious? Find out if it was made of and expose it in an article. I mean, it was a secret project after all. Too juicy for a journal like me to pass up. Then why did the English woman end up dead? I went into that hut, intending to quiz her on her situation, that's all, as a reporter. A known killer, enjoying full freedom, evading justice by leaving the country. I told her what I thought about it. And she just laughed in my face. Oh, what's this? A Far Eastern caveman purporting to practice journalism? Really, you must learn the difference between reporting and listening at doorways, ignorant plebeian. Oh, wow. What? What did you just call me? This country, with its pretensions to a justice system, to a free press, it's really very depressing. You see our superior ways in the West, yet you lack the mental capacity to emulate them. Get out of here, you oaf. Get out and crawl back into the cave you came from. Wow. What a bitch. She deserved it. I stand with Menememo. She deserved it, bro. Yeah, so pretty much in the first... Because this is the second Great Ace Attorney game. In the first game, that lady was the killer of the first case in that game. Who happened to be one of the main characters' partners in crimes. That's when I remembered. About the deadly poison I happened to have in my pen at the time. What a terrible tale. In my head, I knew I should just get out there as quickly as possible, but I couldn't. I couldn't let her get away with what she'd done, when she clearly had no remorse at all. I suppose it was my journo spirit getting all fired up. I stay with Menememo. He was in the right, bro. He was in the right. I liked him. I'd like to ask you something. Yes? You have to talk about justice. But surely as a journalist, you could have used other methods to deliver the justice you sought. There's no justice in the press. Sorry? After that trial 9 months ago, I kept digging and digging to find out what happened in that courtroom. And finally, I discovered the truth. It was a cover-up. That's what it was. A cover-up? What do you mean? I will remind you of your position, witness. Be careful what you say. Oh, come on. Doesn't it strike you as strange? We're suddenly not allowed to convict a foreign national? Consular jurisdiction should never have come into it. And yet the puffed-up Englishwoman was going to sail away into the sunset, a free woman. The only possible explanation is that behind the scenes, some deal had gone down between Britain and Japan. What sort of deal? I'd done my research, dug up all the dirt. It was all ready to be published. But you know what happened? The editor just tore the article up. He came under pressure from the government, you mean? If our government is going to let criminals walk free, they're going to crush the free press. Then what choice do I have but to see that justice is done myself? Let's not forget, Menememo-san. You committed murder yourself, and you tried to lay the blame at the defendant's door. I'm sorry, but you're no better than Giselle Brett. What? The truth is, you have no right to talk about justice at all. I suppose. Aw. So it was all a cover-up. So maybe she didn't actually do it. So there's more to that first case in the first game than meets the eye. That first case will definitely come up again. Because at the end of the first game, we found out that there was like a paper that had like 5 different names on it. We have no idea. That came from the government. Sending Morse code over to Japan, I think. We still have to figure out what it was. It would appear that we have reached a conclusion in this trial at last. Counsel for the defense, Ryutaro Naruhodo. Oh. Ah, yes. Sorry, Your Excellency. Just musing in a manly way here. It's almost unbelievable that this is your first experience of the Supreme Court. It was an excellent performance. In truth, it very much reminded me of your cousin's exploits. Oh, Naruhodo-san? Ryunosuke, you mean? The way he handled the trial 9 months ago and the way you handle this one gives me hope that we are genuinely entering a new era of justice in this land. That's very flattering, Your Excellency. Hearing the defense you put forward today made me feel most keenly that the future of our justice system will be forged by you and your contemporaries. Thank you. So, Prosecutor Ouchi, do you have any final thoughts? Is he gonna chop off his finger? Prosecutor Ouchi? I, Takasuchi of the Ouchi clan, have been bested by a callow youth not once now, but twice. If there was any shred of my former self left, it has withered and died here today. Gosh, your journey to cultural enlightenment sure took a while, didn't it? Silence! Rather than living on in shame, I will end it all now with this blade. For that is the true path of Ouchism. Ouchism? One hopes that only way in which he'll be modeling himself after the witness. He's just cutting off the hair, right? Sprig of my Tatanat. The time is right for farewell. Hope is lost forever. Nice. Alright. Are they all praying, bro? What's going on here? No way Sosuke-san's also praying. Oh, bro, come on. Shut up, Nathaniel. Now, in regard to the defendant, Rei Membami-san. Yes, Your Excellency? I have reached my final verdict. I hereby find you... Oh, yeah? How'd I get a not guilty verdict then, Nat, you bitch? I see a lot of people from the previous game. That Sosuke-san guy, he was from previous game. Hosonaga. We're in Japan right now. We're not following Ryunosuke. We're following Susato. Court is adjourned. Remember when Susato had to go back to Japan? This is where we are right now. Cheats? Shut up, Nat. Now I need to see everything that happened. The VOD will be there, boy. Bro. Excuse me. God. And you better be tomorrow. What, playing this game? We'll see. We'll see. We'll see if I play this tomorrow. It's over. My heart is still pounding my chest, though. It's all I can do just to stay standing. Lawyers have such great responsibility, such a great burden to bear. Don't they, Naruhodo-san? He's still in Great Britain. Thank you so much. You were so dashing in there, Ray and Father. Honestly, I'm so touched by everything you've. Oh no, I think I'm about to cry. Wasn't easy, but together we made it. I was on the verge of tears at the end too. The only reason I'm still here is because of you. Oh no, I can't take all the credit. It took courage to tell the truth in there. You did wonderfully, Ray. So I would have to say that the congratulations belongs to you. Like mid-Britain. That's what I'm saying, bro. Sato, don't be so standoffish. Sorry? We're friends, equals, and the trial's over. So no more of this formal super humility nonsense. Time to celebrate with swagger, and throw caution to the wind. Caution to the... What? I'm the great defense lawyer, Ryotaro Naruhodo. I'm taking you out to a milk bar tomorrow. Or something. Right, I see. I'll, think about it, Ray. At any rate, we really knocked the wind out of that horrid man, and it felt so good. Yes, it was satisfying. It really was. Is there anybody else we could throw together? I hope you're not looking at me, Ray. Oh my goodness! No, of course not. Of course not. Ah, there it is at last. Ray's lovely smile. You fought for your friend to the very last. As your father, I'm extremely proud of you, defense attorney Ryotaro Naruhodo. Thank you, but I couldn't have done it without your help. Anyway, it's time to bid farewell to Ryotaro, I think. I shall miss him in a way, but it's back to Susato Mikotoba from now. So, I'll never see him again then? What a terrible shame. Oh boy. What is happening? Uh-oh. Ah, Sosuke-san, Inspector Hosonaga. I do hope you may keep it well. Is that really you? Yes, I had to change my appearance for, well, obvious reasons, I hope, but it's me. Susato Mikotoba. I did... So dashing, so divine. No. Doubly dashing, yes, and devilishly divine. Just look at you. I had no idea, Miss Susato-san Esquires, that you were locum student Naruhodo-san Esquire's cousin. Astonishingly astounding ace attorney. Poor Sosuke-san. So confused. I still remember the first time I ever met him. He was at a prison cell in London. What an extraordinary conundrum. It was the unwitting student from Japan found himself embroiled in. But after Naruhodo-san's skillful defense at the Old Bailey, Sosuke-san was free to return to Japan. And now he seems to have earned himself a great fame as an author. I'm stunned. That's truly impressive disguise. Even I had no idea. I'm a chief inspector at the police bureau. Who came up with Mr. Turtle? Who came up with Mr. Turtle, no less? I'm not sure you should be admitting to that, Inspector. Amazing. You're a woman of many faces, I see. Just two, really. This was a once-in-a-lifetime event, I hope. Oh, I'm not a patch on you, though, Inspector. Well, I'm a professional, of course. I do worry about Inspector Hosonaga sometimes, I really do. 9 months ago, when he appeared here at the Supreme Court to testify, he was undercover disguised as the head waiter of a restaurant. And then on the steamship to Great Britain, of course, disguised as a sailor to keep us safe on the journey. Though that didn't help you, did it, Kazuma-sama? She's gonna become Ryotaro again. From my perspective, I have to admit that I have mixed feelings about all this. I mean, now the truth has been lost forever. What do you mean? I'm talking about the murder that the Englishwoman committed at the end of last year. Ah, yes, it was an English doctor she killed, as I understand it. Dr. John H. Wilson. Yes, the man I invited to Japan personally. The mysterious... Why did she kill him? Now that the culprit herself is dead, we'll probably never know the answer. On the voyage to Great Britain, we had a most unexpected encounter with Mr. Herlock Sholmes, the great detective, I mean. I want that turtle. I want that turtle. Yes, I remember Mr. Sholmes well, of course. Ah, My arch nemesis. How lightly you utter his name. Well, according to the stories published about him in the Adventures of Sherlock Holmes, the detective once had a partner who helped him solve crimes. Best friend. And that man was an exceptional doctor of medicine by the name of John H. Wilson. What? Dr. Wilson? I just can't believe that it's a coincidence. I think that English doctor of medicine killed here in Japan 9 months ago. Must have been a friend and partner of Mr. Sholmes. If that's really true, then that poor girl won't ever see her beloved father again. As you know, I traveled to Great Britain once myself to study. It was around the time you were born. Yes, grandmother told me about it. On return to Japan, I took up my professorship at the Imperial Yume University. I also serve another role as an advisor to the government on diplomatic affairs. Yes, I was aware of that as well. In that case, I'm sure you understand that there are some confidential matters I cannot divulge to you. Can you tell me one thing? Why did you summon me back to Japan? It's been 2 months now since I returned. When I left England, it was because an urgent telegram had arrived from Japan. It said that you'd collapsed with a high fever, and you were growing weaker by the day. That's what I'd like to know, because after that long sea voyage, I found you in fine health, Father. Was there something in Great Britain that you perceived might inconvenience me in some way, or harm me? That's really the only explanation I could think of. Dear me. Do you reserve your most cunning glares for your father, Susato? I'm sorry, my dear. I simply can't. Oh. So, one throw wasn't enough for you? I've got one last thing to say before they take me away. Professor. Me? I know the truth. I know you had a hand in what went on. In that visiting student's fate. Visiting student? Giselle Brett, you mean? No, not her. The student of law who left for Great Britain 8 months ago. What? Student of law? He must mean Kazuma-sama. What are you talking about? What does Eddie have to do with Kazuma-sama? Nobody here in Japan knows anything about it. They don't know that the guy never made it to England, that he died on that steamship. And that he'll never... Oh, wow. Let's go! W Judge! Well, I didn't expect to find him in here. What were you officers playing at? Terribly sorry, Your Excellency. W Judge. I was coming to tell you that your rickshaw has arrived, Yujin. And it's a good job I came by. Yes, thank you for dealing with him. And I'll be there shortly. I like this judge better than any other judge we've had in Ace Attorney. Wait, but did the judge just block the truth? We already knew the truth. Us, as the players, know the truth. But not everybody else, I guess. At least that, Kazuma died on the ship. He might have had more. So the judge might have hoed us of stuff. Sorry, give me 1 second. Okay. Oh! Your Excellency. The trial's over. I'm not Your Excellency anymore. I'm merely your father's friend. Seshiro Jigoku. And may I say that since I last saw you, you seem to have taken on more dashing appearance. Was his name? was Seshiro Jigoku on the piece of paper at the end of the first game? It sounds really familiar. Susato. Did you know all along? From the start of the trial? A judge sees everything, Susato. I couldn't let you take the risk. If Seshiro here hadn't known, and then he'd recognize you. So I had a word in his ear beforehand, as an old friend. And they'll go too so hard on the English judge too, who's calling Reapers bullshit from time to time. That is true. So, Sashiro, shall we? Yes. Having ruled on that case, we now have various diplomatic issues to address. Before you go, Father. Sorry, my dear. We shall have to return to our earlier conversation at a later date. But well done again, both of you. You did admirably. What is wrong with everyone suddenly hitting on our pro tag? Yes. What'd you think of my Sashiro sling, eh? It's been a while since I've sent a man flying like that. W judge, bro. Whatever could Father be hiding from me? About Jazeel Brett? About Dr. Wilson? Now it seems, according to the reporter, about Cosmo-sama. I'm gonna have to bring this up with Father sometime. When nobody else is around. Judicial Assistant Mikotaba-san Esquires? Could I, have a word? Hurry up, my throat is dying, Soseki. I think perhaps it could be fate that we're meeting again like this now. You see, there's something I need to tell you. Oh? I believe that it may be related to the reason why your father summoned you back from England. This I have to hear. Please, Soseki-san, tell me at once. I will. As you know, my time in England was terrible. Cursed, I have no doubt. Such awful things I was embroiled in. Thank goodness Locum Stu Naruhodo-san Esquire stepped in. After he secured my freedom, I couldn't wait to get on a ship back to my homeland. Having arrived in Japan, I submitted a report about my experiences to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. Next thing I knew, I had a visitor. It was your father, Professor Mikotoba. He wanted to ask me all sorts of things about my report. My father? He seemed to be especially taken with a particular part of the report. Anyway, he left eventually, having thoroughly quizzed me. But it was the very next day he sent the telegram to you asking you to return to Japan. What was it then? The particular part my father was interested in. I don't really know exactly. But do you remember them? Those two terrible cases I was caught up in? Of course, I can never forget. Your father seemed to concern himself mainly with the second case. The second one? You mean the one Mr. Sholmes forbade any of us to talk about in public? Which is why the only case involved you that any member of the public is aware of is the first? Which is why the only case involving you that any member of the public is aware of is the first. Anyway, the point is, it seems that case somehow holds the keys to all this curious unanswered questions. What was the second case? Case of the haunted lodgings. That case somehow caused my father to summon me urgently back to Japan. I thought the whole business was over, but it seems I was wrong. Perhaps that was only the start. Perhaps the story is not yet told. I'm so confused. The haunted lodgings? I know he said his shit was cursed, but is it actually cursed?
So, the mystery of that English woman's death is solved, thank goodness. And having stood in the
yeah, it's been 4 hours. My throat is, my voice is gone.
How you must be feeling as you fight for people's freedom in a foreign land, Naruhodo-san. But actually, I'm writing to you today because of another matter. I met Soseki-san and we talked about that second case he was involved in.
Second case?
Father has said nothing to me, but I feel certain of it. That case holds the key to some great unsolved mystery. My notes on the case should still be in the office, tucked away at the back of the shelves on the left. Perhaps you might like to look over them again.
Try to remember the second case.
Today, for the first time this year, it feels as though summer has arrived. The sky is a brilliant blue. It makes me long to see you again.
Aw.
Yours, Susato.
Yours. Aw. Are we going back to Naruhodo for the second chapter? Probably. And maybe she's nice. This game's about to be freaking good, bro. I can feel it. If it's anything on that first case was insane.